Yes, Mr. Baloyi.
Yes, my lord. Yesterday when we adjourned, there was an issue that had to be verified by playing the
Yeah, you were saying?
So yesterday when we adjourned, there was an aspect that had to be verified by playing the record of the proceedings. I don't know if the record is ready to be played back.
What are we verifying, by the way?
Advocate Mnisi put it to the witness, Brigadier Gininda, that the fact of the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5 was used to come to the conclusion that this was a contractual killing. We then made an objection that this question has not been put to the witness, that the witness was busy answering the previous question, which was to the following effect, namely, the proposition was that there was a challenge regarding Colonel Stein's evidence regarding the call between accused number 5 and Ms. Kelly Khumalo. And the witness was in the process of answering that, So we objected and said he was still in the process of answering this first question. So it had to be verified as to whether Advocate Mnisi did ask this question, namely, whether the fact of the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5 was used to come to the conclusion that this was a contractual killing. So the record had to be played to verify if that question was put to the witness.
Yes, Mr. Mnisi, do you recall the evidence to be like that? Or what's your recollection?
My lord, this whole issue actually started when the witness, when I actually asked the witness what other information was actually used to come to the conclusion that this was a hit. He mentioned, amongst others, the communication. He actually mentioned that in terms of his investigation, there were calls that were made between Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5. Then I said to him, could this then have been used as one of the fact to show that this was a hit? Then that is when he started to elaborate. He included the testimony of Brigadier Stein and the downloads. At some stage, he touched on accused number 3, who had plastic bags in his phone which were downloaded, accused and Kelly and Longwe, and then he went on and on. At some stage, I actually stopped him at a time when he wanted to explain to the court what downloads are or something like that, and then I said, no, but that's not your terrain. It has already been explained by the expert. And at some stage, the court also make mention of an XDS system. But that was almost 15 minutes after I posed the first question, and then the court said, no, let us then go to the...
So what are we checking?
We are checking, my lord. We are checking whether did I actually suggest to the witness that the alleged cell phone contact between accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo, could that have constituted a basis of the fact that this was therefore a contractual killing.
Is that what you are checking?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Mr. Brigadier, what are we checking?
I can just further add, Malo, just to try and explain that Brigadier was busy explaining as to how the evidence from the handset of Ms. Kelly Khumalo was retrieved. That's when Advocate Nisi then interjected and said, but that's not the question that I asked you. And we objected and said, the witness is still answering the initial question and that this second question hasn't been asked.
Yes, so, but what are we checking?
So we are checking as to whether this second question
Was asked.
was asked. In other words, whether the fact that there was communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, or whether the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5 was used to come to the conclusion that this was a contractual killing. So we're checking as whether that question was asked.
Okay, let's ask the Brigadier. What are we checking, sir?
Yeah, my lord, what I recall yesterday is that it was put to me, and this is my recollection, it was said to me, and that is by Advocate Mnisi, that there seems to be discrepancies or issues with the testimony of Kenneth Stein insofar as the linkages. And that was the context, and then the court then asked that can I comment, because I was able to discuss or to engage with him insofar as the DNA is concerned. So then I started explaining, my lord, kicking from that point to say during the course of my investigation, and I was going to say what convinced me that I didn't see anything wrong with the investigation of Kenneth Stein. That is why I went to the handset of Kelly Khumalo state first, indicated where do you find the number, and I indicated that it's in her statement. I went to the details that links that number to her. Then I went to the downloadings. Then I went to accused number 5, where I said in his profile you find that number and the number of bank statements that we did, as well as the traffics. So then I moved to accused number 3, because then I was dealing with the issue of saying, my lord, it is not, and it was not only the cell phone communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5 that we started on when it came to what informed me. What was put to me by Advocate Mnisi was whether did I only rely on the confessions of accused number 1 and 2, because I referred to that to say it is contained there that the trigger point is Ms. Kelly Khumalo. Then I said in addition to that, that is where now I was going to the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5. Then I was extending that to say in addition to that, there is this see-through bag of money that is found in Ms. Kelly Khumalo's phone along with Ityala, and accused number 3, and that is where now I think the whole objection from Advocate Mnisi started. But the essence, I was answering him to say, it is not only the confessions, there were additional information that came up that gave, because I was answering that question, that what convinced me or informed me that this was a contractual killing as it's contained in my statement, A198. That was the approach that we're dealing with, my lord.
I see. Mr. Ramasipidi, what are we checking?
My lord, I think both my colleague and Brigadier Gininda have properly summarized the issue that was contentious.
Both of them?
Both
Mr.
of them.
Mnisi and the Brigadier?
The 3 of them,
Oh,
they've
they've agreed.
explained, my lord, because
Okay.
it emanated from that question relating to the inferences drawn by the Brigadier as to his conclusion that this may have been a contractual killing. So when Advocate Mnisi said, amongst others, there was a challenge to Colonel Stein's evidence, and that's when the court said there was no countervailing evidence from the defense at this stage. That's why it ended up now.
Okay. Mr. Khumalo? What did you hear?
I'll agree with the 3 of my colleagues that the contentious issue was whether the communication between Kelly Khumalo...
I see 4 of your colleagues.
Yes, 4 of my colleagues, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, my lord, 4 of my colleagues. The contentious issue was whether the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, can be said it amounted to a contractual killing.
Okay, fine.
That is what we're checking. Thank you.
All right. Are you able to fish up? Okay. You are able to play it back, that portion which supposed to be said it happened the way. Hello?
la kade khona ke umbuzo oqhamukile ekuthizeni ngabe inkulumo kade khona ngaphakathi komama ukhile khumalo futhi ngabe iyona ke yagcina elethela noma mhlambe idonsa kumdlalo okuthizeni kumaphoyisa aphenya licala lekuthizeni ngabe lokushona kamufi ngabe kade kuyinto kade ehleliwe phansi ke lapho ke bese wathi khona njalo ufakazi yena kade ngekho njalo kepha ngaphandle kodaba lwama confessions ke lapho ke futhi umnumzana umnisi la ngaphambi kwesenkantolo omele kumsolo oqala futhi umsolo wesithathu ke khona lapho ke kade akhuluma khona njalo ukuthizeni ngesikhathi kade khona inkulumo phakathi komsolo wesihlanu nokheli khumalo ngabe iyona nto mhlambe noma isinqumo noma mhlambe isizathu ke esadonsa kumidlalo noma mhlambe esadonsa ukuthizeni kuhlangothi lwethimba lamaphoyisa la kade aseshitala ukuthizeni ke baqedele ngokuthi ke lapho ke lokubulawa kukamufi ngabe kade kuyinto ade beyihlelile noma kade kungasenjalo yini ke lapho ke bese ufakazi ngoba beyakhulumile ngodaba lama confessions futhi ngodaba locingo noma mhlambe ufakazi kade mkhona ngaphakathi kocingo lokwamama ukhili khumalo ke ngoba inombolo zocingo lwakhe ke lesi azibizile ke zolo eziqala lapho eqala ngo-072 lapho ke athi ngesikhathi kade besenza ukuphenya kwecala labo noma kade besesesha icala khona ke lapho ke njalo ke waqhamuka ukuthi khona ke inombolo zakamsola wesihlanu ke phakathi kocingo lwakhe la beyaqoloka xhumana khona naye khona njalo ke manje bathi futhi khona ke udaba locingo ke noma mhlambe izithombe zatholakala phakathi kocingo lokakhili khumalo ulongethwala futhi nomswalo wesihlanu isithombe leso ke isithombe sesikhwama esibonakala ngapho okhona bona ngale kwaso ke futhi isikhwama sikade sinemali kusona ke ngaphakathi ke futhi labantu laba bobathathu kade benesithombe sisodwa noma isithombe cishe safana namashi kucingo lwabo noma kuyithombe kade zikhona ngaphakathi ucingo lwabo futhi batsho khona bathi umnumzana uKenneth Steyn ke lapho ke ngesikhathi kade thula ufakazi bakhe ke la ngaphambi kungesenkantolo kukhona ke udaba angakazi aligide kahle ke noma angakazi aqonde ngalo noma malana nayo noma malana inkulumo yakhe ke ukuthi akhulume inkulumo eqondile eshaya isiqonqosini manje into soyenza ke ukuthi silalele ke ukushicilelwa kwayizolo lokho la kade khona ke buza ke lemibuzo khona.
Yeah, okay, let's play it back if you can. Hello? Are you playing it back? Yes. Yeah.
There was a serious challenge with regard to the testimony, I think, of Colonel Steyn with regard to that piece of information. So, if I follow you, I could have missed a thing or two, but the essence of what you're saying is the basis for this argument in your submission to the office of the DPP in the form of the memorandum was basically largely on account of what was contained in the confessions.
It was based on all the evidence, my lord, that was supporting the confessions at that time. As I've said, that was said, and then subsequently then there was things that were discovered, like I'm referring to the communications that links accused 5 and Ms. Kelo Kumalo, which one did not understand, did not get a reasonable explanation as to what is their relationship, because one could establish that they are not related otherwise. So it was not an isolated incident of just the confessions.
So what you're basically saying, if I'm following your narrative, is that there was a communication link that was identified by Ira Steinhouse, Colonel Steinhouse, which linked the accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo, and the investigation revealed that they were not related. They did not know each other, the things that I've just mentioned now. And then on the basis of that alone, or not really alone, but as a basis of that, the inference grew that this could have been an assassination, a contractual assassination or a hit.
Well, partly true, my lord. What I've said is I don't think I said they don't know each other. I don't think I've been able to say that. What I said in the investigation, we could not establish their relationship that would justify, for example, that they know each other because they are related, for example, or they are in the same profession, or there's something that is explainable as to how they met. I could not find that in the course of the investigation to say why would these people talk to each other, because the evidence from the expert was that they can place the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused 5 more than one occasion, and I could not get a justification. It would have been a different situation if investigation revealed, for example, that they were both in the same profession. Logic would dictate that they would talk. I'm referring to that. Or they are related, and logic would dictate that at some time they would talk. I'm saying we would not find it, but I'm not saying they will not know each other, because I can't say that.
Okay, thank you. Now, Brigadier, you said in your earlier explanation that you could not get a reasonable explanation for the contact between Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5. Who did you approach for this explanation?
During the course of investigation, we could not find it. But perhaps one needs to go perhaps deeper as well. The other difficulty that one could not explain, insofar as the report I got from the analyst, is that even the number, because this, the gadget that was downloaded by the police is the one of Ms. Kelly Khumalo. And then this number that relates to accused number 5, where now they established this link, the report I got is that it was deleted. They had to recover it. And that, in addition to this difficulty of understanding, you say, why would you, an offense has happened in the vicinity, the police wants the device, obviously, to see if they can assist with the investigation. A specific number is deleted back then in 2014. Subsequently, fast-tracking to 2020, we are now aligned with the accused number 5, whom that number is the one that was deleted and recovered later.
Thank you, Brigadier. I will not dwell into this alleged communication between Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5. Neither would I confirm that it actually happens. All that I can say in closing this piece, this one. Number one is there was a serious challenge with regard to the testimony, I think, of Colonel Stein with regard to that piece of information.
It's unfair to put that question to the witness without laying the basis for that question. We submit that that question should be ruled out until counsel lays down the basis of what he calls the challenge with regard to the evidence of Colonel Stein.
The court, my lord, I don't know whether I should proceed or should I wait for the court to make a ruling?
Proceed. He's made his point, Mr. Baloyi. He says
yes,
the court to state that there was a serious challenge
yes,
to the evidence that there was communications between Kelly and accused number 5.
yes.
He says he must put the basis there because, according to him, it's a bare denial.
Thank you, Manas. The reason why I'm saying this to say, it is because and I don't want to taint somebody else. It is because the defense was able to identify that there were discrepancies in the cell phone records or in the information that was contained in the affidavit of Colonel Stein with regard to the numbers that he referred to as having been Kelly's number and accused number 5's number.
But please, my lord, there's no such evidence. We recalled Colonel Stein, and his evidence is clear. There's no such defects as counsel is putting to the witness. In any case, that point should be left for argument and not put to this witness.
Please, the court, my lord, his evidence definitely is not here. But well, in any event, this witness wasn't there.
And as I listen to the evidence,
yes,
maybe it's a question of language. Mr. Baloyi, you want to say there's no countervailing evidence?
Indeed.
Yeah, we only have an expert evidence from the state. And I don't want to argue the state's case. You, the defense, you've made denials, etc., fine. but we never produced any countervailing evidence up to now. And it's not that you're not going to. Maybe you're going to. But I'm just saying, put it to how I understand the denial.
But my lord, it is again not entirely accurate to say that this evidence is clear. When we were able to identify, the defense was able to identify that there were discrepancies in that evidence. I wonder if the court still remember that little table.
I remember everything.
In the
About this case.
yes,
Everything.
that little table in the affidavit of Colonel Stein, where on one part of the
Yeah, there
evidence,
were 5 numbers there. Is that also?
no, man, there were not 5
The
numbers.
communication was based on 5 numbers.
No, what I'm
Okay,
saying,
just leave it.
yes, what I'm saying, my lord, is that in one part of his affidavit, the same information is twisted. In one part of his affidavit is not similar to what is contained in that little table. So that cannot be said to be a clear evidence. But nonetheless, Brigadier Kennedy, I've come, I don't think you privy to that information. You see. So you are excused from answering that question, because in any event, when that argument ensued here at court, I don't think you had insight here.
I think my lord,
Are you excusing this witness not to answer, Mr. Nisi?
Well, I'm only trying to make to.
No, let him answer, because
I'm
this
only
witness...
trying to be fair.
No, wait.
Okay.
I'm listening to all the evidence.
Yes.
This witness argued with you, for instance, concerning the DNA expert evidence. Is that also so?
It is true.
Maybe I don't know. So he says you mustn't answer because he doesn't think you know about that evidence concerning the discrepancies or the forgeries, as it was said, about the numbers which were identified by Stein as belonging to Kelly and accused number 5, and that they communicated on the 15th of October 2014 and on the 8th of August 2014.
Exactly,
I
man.
remember the evidence.
Yes, exactly.
I listen.
But he can answer.
Yes, it was answered.
bese manje inkosi enkantolo ithi hayi ongivumele ufakazi aphenduleke mayelana nalokho ukuthi ufakazi bakamama nabastein kade ufakazi bamanga futhi kade kunalo ungahambi kahle mashini ufakazi bakhe ngokuthile bese inkosi enkantolo futhi yasho ukuthi ufakazi
So, my lord, perhaps let's start with the numbers. The number belonging to Miss Kelly Kumalo, it's a 082 number. And that number is even contained in her statement that she made initially to the police, that this is the number. So there's no dispute as to who's the owner, because in her initial statement, when she was giving a statement to the police, you find that number. You actually find 2 numbers, but the second one is what we term the runner. That is a 072 number that was allegedly taken by the intruders. But the number in question that is relevant in this call, it's a 082, and that is a number that was downloaded by the police that was not taken, and that number is contained in her affidavit. That is a starting point. This is now. This number was contained, my lord, as I said, in this gadget, this handset that was downloaded, and in that handset, that is where now the number, the 073 number, 305, I just forgot the last four numbers, linked to accused number 5 was found.
Now, sorry, so that everybody can understand you. When you say the number was contained in the handset, whose handset?
Miss Kelly Kuman. Now, the number now that was recovered after there was an attempt to delete it, but then the expert recovered that number, and that number, as I said, my lord, is 073 that is linked to accused number 5.
Atike inombolo ezathi okay ephake uphesha bewasithola ngaphansi kwegatsha ngesikhathi wasenza kuphela ukuqala lakhe athi inombolo zokusola wesihlanu lesoke iqala ngoZolwimi.
And in the briefing I got my number, this is the number that communicated with Ms. Kumalo both in August and October using data, not normal line. That's the briefing I got.
Atike ngesikhathi ngathola ke inkulu ubuchwepheshe kade ngathola ke inombolo lesoke ukuthi yona nombolo iyashayana lapho kwamazisha amashaka amabili enyanga 2014
Now the link of this number to accused number 5, my lord, you will find it in his profile. We'll start there because that's what we had this 2020 when we had sites on him, my lord.
athi ngesikhathi ebetheke ulwazi ngaphansi komsola wesihlanu lapho inamba lezathi inombolo ezikhona ngaphansi kweprofile yakhe komsola wesihlanu.
You will further find it in some of his bank statements which we recently discovered, my lord. I think it's Capitex and that bank, that number is listed there, as well as in some of the traffic registrations where Natis captures. So that number under his name, under his ID number, that number is there. It actually even appears on the exhibit which I dealt with in this court when Advocate Msholo was leading me about the traffic fines that he got, where it was relevant to this date or not. If you go there, see that this is the number under his initials, surname, and ID number. That is the number that appears. So there is no doubt that the number is his, my lord, or is associated with his particulars.
Athi futhi inombolo akukho okwengawazi ukuthi inombolo ayikumele ukuthi nomsola wakho ngoba lokho ngayibhekisha inombolo zamasisiko nomsola wakho inamba leziqhamuka lezi ushimisho ukuthi kwabanye wakhe kanzi akitheke bale finance kanabeke ukuthi lapho ma-traffic fines futhi ngesikhathi lesi ekade yabona ngemibuzo mama umsholo umsholo mama lenkantolo waqhamuka ukuthi inombolo eziqhamukile lapho ngesikhathi wabuza akabuza ke ufakazi kodwa ama-traffic fines ama-fine kamsola.
But what is also prudent to mention, my lord, is that the same gadget of Ms. Kumalo, in the same download, there is also a link in terms of the see-through bag money that goes to accused number 3. There's a link by the see-through bag, bag containing money.
Athi futhi khona ke isikhwama lapho kade kukhona phakathi kusola futhi izimali zikumanisa uKumalo futhi nomsola wesihlanu.
No, wait, Kenida. Don't forget that I also represent accused number 3. What did you just say then?
I'm saying, in addition, I've dealt now with the course, so I'm saying
Yes.
the same gadget of Ms. Kumalo.
Yeah.
In it, when they did the download, a see-through bag containing money
Yes.
was found.
Yes.
Now, that bag is also found in the cell phone gadget of accused number 3 as well as Mr. Trial.
So, just to understand you, so it means there's a resemblance of what was found, the pictures that were found in Kelly's phone the pictures that were found in accused number 3 and the pictures that were found in longest phone are similar of that see-through bag money.
My Lord, that is contained in a statement of Colonel Stein, where he says a similar bag is found in the following gadget, and that is the report I believe I got from him. Now, when I say link to accused number 3, my Lord, the gadgets that I'm referring to, it is the gadgets that was seized from him according to the statement, or allegedly seized from him under the case 96 of 2015 by Masondo, as well as Sergeant Dr. Mutambini, then when they arrested him. So you have a direct link because then it's alleged that it was found in his possession. And subsequent to his downloading, we even dealt with the photos that were found inside.
Sorry. I'm just reminding myself. It's staying top of an XBY process. In other words, the police, if you buy a furniture, that's how they put it. If you buy a furniture on credit, they take your name, your address, your ID number, and then you get a ticket, for instance, etc., or you are charged in another case. The police have a means of extracting.
Yes, that is correct.
What did he call the process?
XDX. XDS.
That's it.
That's the statement that he used.
XDX process for the police.
Now, my Lord, with due respect, I'm sorry, Mr.
This is what Stein said. That process which he talks about. Am I correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Stein refers to it with a scientific name. He says it's an XDX done by the police. That's the evidence I listened to.
Now, I want to fit that XDX explanation that comes into the that comes from the court. I want to.
It doesn't come from me. Please, it's the evidence of state. Unless you say I'm lying.
No, I'm not saying that.
When you say it comes from the court.
No, or that's the court referred to now.
I take special attention to relay the facts as I heard them. It's Stein who said that, not me.
Yes.
I'm regurgitating the evidence given by Stein.
Yes, madam.
Yes, it doesn't come from me.
Yes, madam.
Okay.
Now, my clarification, the point on which I request that I should be clarified on is, this witness is now testifying about the bag that was the see-through bag of money, a picture, not bag of money, a picture of a see-through bag of money that was found in accused number 3's phone, Longwest's phone, as well as Kelly's phone. He says that in the context of testifying about the communication between accused number 5 and Kelly. Now that XDX thing, how does it feature
It doesn't
in this evidence?
No. It doesn't communicate about Kelly. It communicates about the numbers Is that the numbers of the asset?
The numbers
The numbers.
associated.
He doesn't know clearly from a bar of soul, but he communicates about a number which he says, not me, which he says it was duplicated between himself and accused number 5 and vice versa. If it's correct, that's what he said, if I recall the evidence, not the person.
And that is the explanation that I needed to get, my
Oh,
lord.
I see,
That
okay.
is that XDX thing with regard to the back, the picture of the white bag of money or what? The white bag of money that was the see-through bag of money that was allegedly accused number 3's phone, Kelly's phone, and Longo's phone.
So, my lord, no, I think the advocate is perhaps let me explain it this way so that it becomes clearer. We're talking about two systems. XDS is a system that will contain the details of an individual, be it as the court rightfully said, opens a bank with FNB. You submit your details. Those details by the expert who are registered, they can recover and see what number did you give, what address did you give. You buy a furniture, the court has remark, you will get the employment details, you will get them. And in terms of the chronological order up to the latest information. That is a system that the expert utilize to get the information in terms of your numbers, your addresses, your recent employment, etc., etc. That is now my understanding the function of that system, which is separate to the second part of the see-through bag that I'm going to come to my note. Now, my lord, coming now to the downloads. Now, that is now my understanding and experience that I have. Downloads come from the gadget itself. So, in other words, you have to have the handset and then the expert with the expertise.
There are experts who testified about downloads. They testified in detail. People who have the expertise who will not come and say, that is my understanding. The people who will say, we've been trained in this. You understand? Simple. The question that I posed to you, the last 15 minutes, was, could it have been so that the relationship or the fact that there was a cell phone contact between accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo
over. Hello? Fedile. Okay. Yes? Indistinct. So I said, let me say B. Fine. I'm told by my registrar that it stopped recording that machine. Is it correct, sir?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. In other words, when Mr. Mnisi posts the question that there are experts, etc., who will come and explain, or who explains, not a person who says, my understanding. My registrar tells me that the machine, after that, stopped, as it has stopped now. Are you with me?
Indeed, my lord.
Can you confirm that it has stopped? Bazothi, hey. Ukubela abantu esakeni.
No, the machine stopped now.
Yeah.
My lord, we need to use the machine so that we can continue with this procedure.
Yeah, fine. I'm just explaining. So it will, after this lull, it will again start and record whatever was said thereafter.
Yes.
So we must wait. Okay, fine. Are you telling me you don't get the gist of the dispute between you guys?
Yes, my lord, we got the gist.
I mean,
Yes. I think it's been resolved. The witness was answering the previous question regarding Colonel Stein.
Yeah.
And that's when advocate needs to stop him.
okay, that was
Yes.
when you objected after that.
Yes.
But that is not accurate, my lord. The court wanted to find out what was the dispute all about. And I said, my last question to the brigadier was, Brigadier, I asked this question actually 15 minutes ago, and I was actually very savvy with time. It could have been 40 minutes ago. That the fact that you found that there was or it is alleged that there was a communication between Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, could that have been used as a basis to conclude that this was a hit?
Okay.
That is when then the machine stopped.
So he must answer that.
Yes, because it has not been
just-
answered,
ah,
my
no.
lord. Yes.
So
This
you
explanation
are
that
waiting-
took
you are
30
waiting-
minutes.
You are waiting for him to answer that question.
Yes, my lord.
Okay, so that we must have progress.
Yes.
Do you understand what Mr. This is getting at?
I do, my lord.
Okay, let's continue then. Where's this guy? Ubalekile manje. Yeah, start the machine. Wait until he starts the machine.
Okay, man.
Maybe on a lighter note, Mano, I think we forget to estimate the score here.
The what?
The score.
Which score is that now?
The score is between the defense and the state.
No, the way I understand this, you are saying you are waiting Brigadier Kininda to
Yes.
answer that question.
Yes,
And then we proceed.
yes,
But the problem now, this machine has got stuck.
yes. For
is
for
not
the
recording.
proceedings of today, yes.
Yeah, it's not recording.
Yes,
So we're waiting for it to record.
yes, my lord.
It's obvious Trump is a better machine operator. Yeah, he played a video for the whole world to see.
I think Dr. Sibande is writing a paper on that,
Is that so?
subject. Yes, my lord. I think he can. He's writing a paper on land expropriation.
Oh, is that so?
Yes.
Are you doing that, sir? Because that topic, I thought it's exhausted. Land expropriation. Why, Mr. Ramasipili, was surprised? Mandela, Sobukwe, Kotani, Joe Slovo, Mabida, Sisulu, Tambo. For 30 years, they debated that issue. I know it because I'm sorry to say it, my uncle is Moses Kotani. So they debated that issue about expropriation without compensation. Actually, the Pan-Africanist Congress used to say, well, point them, or chase them into the sea. And they came with this compromise, Section 25 of the Constitution. And we know what happened in the other country, in Zimbabwe. They chased away all the whites with their suitcases. Now they are paying them back for the land. So maybe people must just take the view of the senior guys who debated this issue. You can't tell me that Mandela he doesn't have the inkling as to how to solve the problems we had concerning our history. Because these guys, the Afrikaners, they are here for 800 years. Are you aware of that? 800 years. 1648 actually. We normally say 1652. Diego came in 1648 or 2, somewhere there, ne? 42, ne? So these guys have been here for 800 years. And they regard themselves as Africans. Like the Trumps. The Trumps went to America in the Mayflower, 1538, somewhere there, is that not so? When the British occupied and conquered North America. The English, today they are guys like Trump, for instance, they regard themselves as Americans. And then, of course, there was a genocide of the native races, the so-called Apaches and so forth, like with us here. They say the Khoisan came here before us. And apparently there's some historical truth in that, because there were these drawings, which we found here. We were not artists. We just ate the meat. But then they have drawings of animals, etc., etc., etc. And it's sad to say it, and sad But we also, in a way, committed genocide against Barwa, the so-called Khoisan. And we denigrated them. If a person looked at you down, we used to call you Aikim wrong to him. So this problem, it's a long held problem. I don't know what's going to happen about it. Because, can you imagine, Simon van der Stel, he sold that farm before he died. You remember, he went away to Batavia. So a guy like Baloyi, the only difference was that he's white and he's Dutch, bought the farm. So there's change of title deed for 600 to 800 years. Okay. All right. Yeah, Ityala futhi mfowethu.
I'm repeating it. I posed that question 15 minutes ago. And then now gadget.
So this is what was recorded today, ne? Hello, am I correct? Huh?
Not today, yesterday. I'm repeating
Oh, okay.
Could it have been so that the fact that there was this alleged communication, cell phone communication between Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, used as one point to conclude that that this was indeed a contractual assassination, amongst others?
As a please, my lord. Counsel asked the question that there was a challenge with Colonel Stein's evidence regarding the communication between accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo. And the court then said, but the state objected, and the court said the witness should answer. The witness is now busy explaining it. Now, counsel stops the witness from explaining it. The very same question that counsel posed. We submit, my lord, that the witness should be allowed to complete his answer regarding the earlier question that was put to the witness.
No, madam. It does not work out like that. Look, my question is very simple. It does not need expertise on cell phone gadgets or wherever. The question is that, could it have been one of the factors that was taken into account that the cell phone conversation that was allegedly found to exist between Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5 used as a fact to say that this was actually a contractual assassination? That was my question.
There was no such question. We were still busy with that initial question.
No, the state can't say that there was no such question. We can play the record.
Yeah, there was such.
Yes.
There was a question like that. So
After the question.
was this gentleman, the brigadier must answer that question.
Yes.
Because you're objecting
Yes.
that they are stopping him from answering that question.
My lord, it boils down to this simple fact. Which question was Brigadier Gininda answering?
Yeah.
He was still answering that initial question about Stein's evidence, explaining about how the downloads works, and that's when Advocate Nisi then said, but that's not the question that I asked you. That is the crux of the issue.
Okay, Mr. Nisi, can you answer that question again? For Mr. Brigadier Stein, so that we have progress. Whether this alleged communication between Kelly and accused number 5 was interpreted amongst other interpretations, or it was found by yourself that it proves or indicates that there was a contractual killing.
Yes, my lord. So
Is that how you pose the question, Mr. Nis?
I got a bit of a disturbance. I couldn't follow
No,
what the
no,
court was
I'm
saying.
saying you are saying
Yes.
the fact that accused number 5 and allegedly accused number 5 and Kelly communicated,
Yes, my lord.
was it one of the indicators to the brigadier that that communication was in pursuance of a contractual killing. Is that how?
Yes, my lord.
So you must answer it and then we make progress.
Yes.
Is that so, Mr.?
Yes, that's a new question, yes.
Yeah, fine.
It's not a new question.
Okay, okay, but you want to ask that question in any case.
I'm not so sure, Madam, whether we're starting formally now with today's
No, we are
proceedings.
formal.
Yes.
We are recording.
As it please the court, my lord.
I mean, we're fighting about, it's not that question, it is that question. We have had evidence over 60,000 pages.
Yes.
We're arguing about 2 minutes evidence in this court.
Exactly.
Please.
Yes.
Let's go on. So you answer that question and Mr. Nisi will proceed.
My apologies, my lord.
Yeah, fine.
The state just reminded me that we did not remind the witness that he's still under
Under oath, he knows.
Yes, I do, my lord.
Yes, okay, fine.
So, my lord, it is correct to say the communication, and I want to explain it in the context that I was moving on, because I was moving step by step yesterday, so that it's not misunderstood.
Yeah.
No, it's not an objection. I'm just stating that the proceedings are formally started.
All right, no, I
Thank you.
understand. And it was all, my lord, kicking off from the confessions, because in the confession of accused number 1, the 2 confessions of accused number 1, that is where you find the name of Miss Kelly Khumalo as the trigger point of this assassination. Then
athi ufakazi athi bekhumbuza ufakazi ukuthi angakhohlwa ukuthi sisasengaphansi kwesifungo ke mayelana nodaba lombuzo koqhamukile kuwukuthi ngabe yini le eyaphoqa amaphuzu ukuthi wathatha isinqumo noma ayenza amaphuzu ukuthi athatha isinqumo sokuthi ke ngoba kade khona inkulumo phakathi komsola wesihlanu ke futhi noKhili Khumalo ke baqedela ngokuthi bona ke lokubulawa kukamufi into ade ehleliwe phansi ke bese athi ufakazi uma aphendula mayelana nodaba lama concessions amabili ke ayenziwa am confession lawo ke enziwa komsola wokuqala kuwukuthi
No, I said the confession indicates that the trigger point is Miss Kelly Khumalo. The 2 confessions.
Kuka kulama confessions ke amabili ke enziwa ke umsola wokuqala ke ukuthi umuntu ophakathi nendawo noma mhlawumbe oxhumanisa labantu laba ke uKhili Khumalo.
Then from there, my lord, we move to the 2 confessions of accused 2. And similarly, on those 2 confessions, the name of Miss Kelly Khumalo comes up as a trigger point.
Athi futhi imuva kwalokho bese abahamba ke bakuma confessions ayenziwa ke umsola wesibili ngesikhathi kade belalele ama confessions enziwa ke umsola wesibili ukuthi umuntu kade baxhumanisa futhi ekhona ke igama lakhe lavela ke lapho ke uKhili Khumalo.
Now it is in these 2 confessions, my lord, of accused number 2, where now the names of accused 3, 4 and 5 comes into the picture, because that is a sequence of events and it will tally or be explained correctly when you start doing the linkages, because up to that stage the names of accused 3, 4 and 5 were sort of like silent, but when you get to the confessions of number 2, then you see the name of accused number 3, number 4, number 5. They now come into the picture.
Athi ke uma ngaba ubuka ke kuma confessions ke kamsola wesibili ke lapho ke kulaqhamuka khona ke amagama wabasola abalandelayo kumsola wesithathu umsola wesine futhi umsola wesihlanu ke futhi umuntu akade ebaxhumanisa mhlawumbe umuntu akade exhumanisa labantu laba ke lapho ke uLokheli Khumalo bathi khona njalo uma ngabe kade buke confession noma ama confession amabili ke lapho ke kade yenziwe umsola wokuqala ke akakhulumile ngomsola wesithathu umsola wesine futhi umsola wesihlanu.
Now, my lord, subsequent to these confessions, then the investigation proceeded to corroborate and verify what was contained in the confessions.
Athi ngesikhathi kade besenza ukusesha kwecala labo ke lapho kulaba baxhumanisa khona ke lofakazi ade busalane ngemuva noma kade bulandelana ngendlela ke lapho ke ethiziwe baxhumanise konke okuxhumanayo.
And this is where now, my lord, that investigation, and I'm going to leave others which are not important for this purpose, led to the establishment of the communication between Miss Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, both in August and October of 2014.
Athi futhi lapho ke kula khona ke bazama ukuthola ukuthi ngabe kade bexhumaniswa yini ke umsola wesihlanu ke futhi noKhili Khumalo ngenyanga noma ngesikhathi kade bekhuluma ocingweni ke ngenyanga kaOctober futhi nangenyanga kaAugust ngomnyaka ka2014.
As well as the see-through bag of money that was found in Miss Kelly Khumalo's gadget, accused 3 and Mr. Longotwala.
athi futhi olunye kodaba olukhona-ke kuwukuthi kade khona-ke isithombe leso kade sinemali-ke ngaphakathi isithombe bokhona ukuthi ubone phakathi kusona-ke isithombe leso-ke basithola ngaphakathi kocingo lwakamsolwa wesithathu futhi uKelly Khumalo futhi noLongwethwala.
But further to that, my lord, it also, during this process of investigation, 4 numbers at that initial stage. I know later they expanded, but at the beginning, there were then 4 numbers of Miss Kelly Khumalo that were discovered, that they were active, but she did not disclose to the police at the time. And by the time I got involved, the window period of establishing the data or asking the data from the networks had expired. In other words, the 3-year window period has expired, so we couldn't get the data. But what we were able to establish is that there were 4 numbers in my recollection that were not disclosed, and Kenneth Stein was able to establish them, that these numbers were belonging to Ms. Kelly Khumalo. They were active during this period, but they were not disclosed to the police. Only 2 numbers were disclosed to the police when this incident took place.
Athi-ke lapho-ke ngesikhathi-ke uKelly Khumalo ehlangana namaphoyisa kakakaza akhuluma iqiniso mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo zakhe noma mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo zakhe ezine-ke lapho-ke athi kade enenombolo-ke ezine ngesikhathi kade kusenzeka icala leli-ke lapho-ke kepha ngesikhathi bekakhulumisana namaphoyisa watshela amaphoyisa ukuthi yena unenombolo ezimbili zocingo-ke lapho-ke kepha uyasho khona ukuthi yena ngesikhathi bekaqala ungenelela kule cala leli ephenye icala leli-ke lapho-ke kade sekudlule isikhathi seminyaka emithathu-ke la bekazokhona ukuthi athole khona-ke iqiniso liphelele lonkana mayelana nodaba lokuthi-ke ngabe ley'nombolo eziqeqe eqinisweni kade kuyezakaKelly Khumalo noma kade kungasiyizo yini ezikaKelly Khumalo. Bese khona-ke ubuchwepheshe uthizeni wabiza ngegama likaKenneth Stein athi uyena-ke owenza lowo msebenzi loyo-ke ngemuva kwesikhathi-ke kulagcina sekathola khona-ke mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo lezi-ke ezine-ke lapho-ke ukukuthi inombolo lezi ezine zonkana kade kuyinombolo zakaKelly Khumalo, kepha ngesikhathi bekakhuluma namaphoyisa kakaze awatshele ngazo zonke ley'nombolo zakhe-ke ngenombolo zocingo zakhe kade zine-ke lapho-ke kepha watshela amaphoyisa mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo zocingo ezimbili nje kuphela.
Now, my lord, the importance of these numbers, or me mentioning them, it is relevant in that when you moved to the confessions, it is clearly indicated that there seems to have been a communication from one of the accused with sisters. They refer to the name sisters, but the insinuation is that there was a communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and the accused, but it was in that effort in trying to establish that link to say if there seems to have been a communication as is contained in the confession between one of the accused and I think the confession refers to accused number 3 in particular, communicating with Ms. Kelly Khumalo. I wanted to establish that link to say, but if there was this communication, surely the cell phone records, because are there, must show. And in the absence of not finding that link on the day of the incident, that is why I said either then there would have been inaccurate recording on the confession or there is something that we are missing. And that is how now the expert, in endeavor to uncover the truth, then found out that there were these numbers belonging to her that were active but not reported to the police.
Athi khona-ke lapho-ke mayelana nodaba lwama-confessions kade lo muntu bembiza ngokuthi usisi-ke lapho-ke futhi umuntu okuwusisi kade exhumana noyedwa wabasolwa-ke lapho-ke ngesikhathi kade besenza ucwaningo labo noma usesha kwecala labo-ke lapho-ke bona njengethimba lezesiphoyisa futhi uyasho khona ukuthi mayelana nodaba lele-confession kula khona-ke igama lakamsolwa liqhamuka khona-ke lapho-ke ukuthi umsolwa wesithathu uye kade akhulumisana igama lakamsolwa laqhamuka khona-ke ukuthi ngabe kade kuye bekakhulumisana nolokuzana noKelly Khumalo-ke lapho-ke futhi uyasho khona ukuthi ngesikhathi nakangenelela lapho-ke esephenye icala leli-ke kula uthola khona-ke ulwazi loloko ngesikhathi bekalalela udaba lwama-confessions noma ngesikhathi kade abukeke kuma-confessions lapho-ke futhi ujobelele inkulumo yakhe washo lokho okulandelayo kuwukuthi ngesikhathi kade kusenzeka lokho-ke kepha-ke lo muntu akakazi ngesikhathi selanga leli ngelanga leli lesigameko lapho-ke kukhona la kungakhulunyiwe iqiniso khona-ke lonkana eliphelele mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo zocingo.
But of utmost importance, my lord, with regard to the calls, to the 2 calls that links Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, is that the number that was recovered that is associated with accused number 5 was actually recorded. I forgot to mention yesterday. The name that was attached to this number is NA, and there was no name. It simply says NA. And this is one of the factors that one considered when one said we could not establish any relationship that could be reasonably explained. Because, for example, if they were relatives, I'm not sure if you can record your relative as NA or friends, but that is how it was stored. And then obviously effort were made to delete it, in other words to conceal it, but then it was discovered. So that part of how it was recorded, I forgot to mention that yesterday, my lord.
Athi-ke kunodaba akhohliwe ukuthi alukhulumeke izolo ngesikhathi kade aletha ufakazi bakhe kufakazi la ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo-ke athi melana ney'khathi lezi ezimbili-ke la kuxhumana khona-ke umswala wesihlanu-ke futhi nokhelu khumalo athi inombolo ekhona-ke lapho-ke kulo cingo kade ibhalwe ukuthi u-NA should ayibhaliwe igama lomuntu-ke lapho-ke kepha athina-ke lokho kuyamdida-ke noma mhlawumbe kuyamxaka-ke lokho ngoba kungani uma ngabe umuntu ohlobene naye-ke usube ushayelana naye ucingweni ungabhali igama lakhe uma ngaba useva ke inombolo zakhe ngaphansi kucingo lwakho ke futhi wajobelela incazelo yakhe washo khona ukuthi le nombolo lezi ke ngemuva kwalokho ke kunala kade zicishiwe khona usho ukuthi kunala kade zideletiwe khona ke kepha ngemuva kwesikhathi babuya futhi bakuthola ke ukuthi kade khona uxhumana phakathi kwale nombolo ezimbili ezithizeni ke lapho ke futhi washo khona ukuthi khona ke lokho ke kungani uma ngabe umuntu uxhumana naye noma uhlobene naye ungeke uze ubhale igama uma ngabe ususeva inombolo zakhe ngaphansi kucingo.
Now that, my lord, taken into account with, or rather subsequent to this or in addition to this, statements were also obtained, and I will not go into the details because obviously those witnesses I know will go to the exercise that they were not called, but statements were obtained, and in my recollection perhaps one or two.
Sorry, Brigadier, I did not get about the details and the witnesses who have not been called. Just can you please repeat
So I'm saying
yes.
Statements from witnesses were obtained, which corroborated what was contained in the confession insofar as this accused, and we touched base about it yesterday a bit, being at the crime scene and obviously the arguments that were made after the deceased was killed. But in my recollection, there may have been also assertions that the accused may have received the orders from Ms. Kelly Kumalo. So in the course of the investigation, other than this, such, my lord, in my recollection, I just have to make sure which statement says that and then be specific. But in the investigation, we found such as well, my lord.
Athi ngesikhathi kade besenza ke bona ukusasha kwecala labo ke lapho ke mina nodaba le statement ezofakazi ke abanye ke kepha awuthi akanaso isiqiniseko sokuthi basezobabiza yini ngaphambi kwenkosekankantolo ethi baza kwenza isiqiniseko sestatement zabo mayelana nodaba le statement zabo ke kepha athi khona ke statement ezathathwa lapho ke futhi statement lezo kade zihambisana nenkulumo kade khona ke ngaphansi kwe-confession la ekuthizeni mhlawumbe khona ke mhlawumbe ke lapho ke ukhelu khumalo uyena ke owaphoqela noma oweza nalo hlelo noma mhlawumbe nalenkulumo mhlawumbe noma nalenkulumo ethizeni ke kumele kubulawe umuntu.
Now, of importance, my lord, of further importance is that then the profile, the cold case analysis, as much as it was done on accused 1 and 2, same exercise was done on accused 3, 4, and 5.
Athi ke lapho ke ngesikhathi athi besenza icala leli ke lapho ke bana nodaba le cold profile case lapho ke athi uhambo abalenza noma mhlawumbe into abayenza ke lapho mina nomsola wokuqala nosibili futhi bayenza mina nomsola wesithathu nomsola wesine ke futhi nomsola wesihlanu.
I do not intend, my lord, to defame the accused, but what we found is that in their profile, the narrative of this assassination, I just don't know how to find the right wording without defaming the accused, my lord. But what we found in the profile, insofar as the cases in particular that they were sentenced for, in particular
sorry, Brigadier, we've got 5 accused here.
That's what I'm
going
there.
Which one are you referring to?
No, I think you jumped in just when I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Accused 3, 4, and 5, because at that time, my lord, when we zoom on them, they were already serving sentence. They were already convicted and serving sentence in different prisons. Particularly those that were convicted, 3, and 4. 5 was convicted while we were busy with the trial, my lord. 3, 4, and 5.
athi ngesikhathi kade besenza ke lo usearch kwicala labo lapho ke esikhathini kade sebesenza khona nje lapho ke usocongo ke noma bekhuluma ngodaba losocongo khona ke labathola khona ke ekuthizeni umsola wesithathu futhi umsola wesine kade bona ke sele begutshiwe ke lapho ke kepha kumsola wesihlanu ke lana wagwetshwa ngesikhathi kade icala liqhubha ke.
Now, taking into
Sorry,
account
Brigadier.
all these facts, my lord.
Sorry, Brigadier. Now you see, this is exactly what happened yesterday. The question that I posed yesterday, up until thus far, and in today's proceedings, we're almost 20 minutes in them, it has not yet been answered. You're coming with peripheral, collateral issues, and ultimately you're coming up with evidence that is inadmissible against this accused in this trial. Because what you've just saying now, that's character evidence.
So, my lord, as I was saying, I was at the conclusion.
Do you agree that this is character evidence? Which
my
is
lord,
inadmissible, and as a high-ranking officer, you know, you don't need to do that.
So, my lord, if I may just then conclude, because it answers Advocate Mnisi's question. I felt it was important to indicate how did I come to the conclusion, because my understanding of the question from Advocate Mnisi is that in my statement or submission to the DPP, I made a submission that this offense was unconsensual killing. The killing was not just a robbery gone wrong. There was a contract to assassinate the deceased. And these factors that I've mentioned, my lord, I felt are important because they informed me. Evidence was collected that points to that direction, and I was merely indicating them as to what informed me to come to this conclusion. Hence I was saying, my lord, taking these facts that I've mentioned in totality, that is why then we came to a conclusion that there could have been no other way but to conclude that this was a contractual killing, and that is the answer to the question. The background is what informed me step by step, moving from the confession and additional evidence that was collected, my lord.
Athi ke incazelo yakhe ukuthi ihambisana malana nombuzo kade ubuziwe lapho ke yena befuthi baqala bekafisa ukuthi noma bekade aqala ke icalele emuva la kade liqale khona ke noma ngendlela kade ihambe ngalo ke uma ngabe phina ke lo mbuzo ukuthi lapho ke kade bona bengayile kwebangenzi kepha kade beceliwe ukuthi izini baze bazobulala ke lapho ke noma kade betsheliwe ekuzeni kumele ukuthi beze bafike babulale ke lapho ke athi malana nofakazi ke abutholile ngesikhathi kade amikisa ke uhlelo lakhe le-presentation kumahhovisi wethimba labashushisi ke lapho ke ukuthi kade athole ulwazi olukadanalo nomhlambi imininingwane lokadanakwe ngemuva kokuthi yena ke aphenye icala leli noma ke aseshe icala leli ke ukuthi le inkulumo bekayikhuluma esikhathini esindlule lapho ke futhi athi ufakazi kade anabo kade bukhomba encamashi noma kade bushaya isikhonkosini ekuthizeni ke lobugebengu noma mhlawumbi ke asithi mhlawumbe sehlo lesesehlakwe lapho ke kade kuyinto ade ihleliwe futhi kade kuyinto ade bephoqelekile ekuthizeni bayenze.
And I do agree, my lord, that the part that relates to the accused, insofar as the profiling is you know, it boiled it down, as Advocate Mnisi is saying, to character evidence. And it was not my intention. That's why I tried to explain that I don't know how to put it. I simply put it because it's one of the factors that I've considered, but it meant no harm. And that is why I've said it more than one occasion, that it is not meant to defame the accused. That was not my intention. It was simply to place before court the facts that were considered when one then came to this contractual killing arrangement, my lord, or proposal.
Athi ke lapho ke ngesikhathi uyakhuluma nenkulumo yakhe la kade umnomzana umnisi kade amisa khona ke kuumelo wenu ke banomzana ukuthi izini ke nakhe angacekeli isithunzi senu phansi nomhlamba akhulume ke ngane njengongathi mhlawumbe sekangcekela phansi ke athi lokho kade angahlosile ukuthizeni ke enze lokho ke kepha bekenza lokhu ngoba kade afisa ukuthi achazele inkosi enkantolo kabanzi noma ngogcwele emalana nalokho kade nakutholile futhi asho khona njalo ukuthi lapho ukudutshula kamufi nesikhathi kade kusenzeka isigameko lesike kade ukudutshula kamufi kade ukudutshula kuthizeni kade kuhleliwe phansi futhi bekhulumile bese bazwana ke kepha kade kungasukuthi kade aba igebengu lezi mhlawumbe igila mkhuba lezi ke kade ziye lapha ekuthizeni zobamba inkunzi.
So I just wanted to explain that, my lord, that I agree with Advocate Mnisi. So there was no ill intentions from my side. It was just to try and explain the facts that were considered.
Athi uyavumelana ke nomeli bekangamisela ekuthizeni ke lokho kube nobungozi ngaphakathi noma kusomunye ubhlungu.
Thank you, Brigadier. The apology is well accepted. And on behalf of the accused that I represent, I think that will go to my colleagues as well.
Understood, my lord. Thank you.
Thank you. And what also is comforting on behalf of the accused, the court has said on a number of occasions that he is trained enough to separate what is not wanted from the wheat. In other ways, to separate trash from the wheat. I've got no doubt in my mind about that, about what the court said in that regard. But thank you. Brigadier, you're quite right. When you investigate a case, you know, you don't underestimate each and every little thing that you get. In other words, you just take out each and everything that you get, you put it into the case docket, and then you submit it to the office of the DPP, you know, so, or to the prosecution, you know, so.
Bathi-ke uma ngabe mnumzana usenza kokuphenya kwecala noma usesha icala lapho-ke akukho lo uthatha kancane mhlawumbe ongakubeki-ke lapho-ke nje eqondile, kepha konke okutholayo usuthi uyakuthatha-ke bese umikise kwithimba labashushisi noma kumahhovisi abashushisi, akusenjalo yini?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
It's like a flooded river that will carry whatever that it gets along its way and then goes and throw it into the ocean and so.
But lapho usuthi kufana-ke nomfula-ke uma ngabe umfula usugcwele usukhukhula noma usugcwele amanzi amaningi, uthatha amanzi lawa bese waletheke ngale elwandle, akusinjalo yini?
Well, I suppose, my lord, insofar as it's related to that matter, the matter that we're investigating, yes, you will have to investigate, follow each and every lead, but you focus on that case. Yeah. So I'm not sure, because my understanding of the river collects everything. I suppose even if it's not relevant, then it will be collected. I think this approach will be slightly different. Yes, any lead that comes, insofar as the matter that is before court, we have to investigate, collect, and submit to the DPP. But the relevant will be what we're investigating and not any other matter, my lord.
Yeah.
Athi yebo angafisa ukuthi athi yebo kunjalo, kepha kanaso isiqiniseko sokuthi ngabe umfula wona-ke ngabe uthatha ukuthize noma uthatha ukuthize, kepha athi umfula wona-ke uma ngabe usuthatha uhambisa amanzi, uthatha konke lokho kusemanzini-ke bese ukuthelele elwandle, kepha athi yebo uma ngabe bona-ke uma besesha icala njengethimba lesiphoyisa-ke lapho-ke ulwazi oluncane nolwazi oluncane okusuke baluthulile lapho-ke bavame ukuthizeni balisale emuva.
The example of a river, Brigadier, is in a context of a particular case that is being investigated. Yes, I don't mean all the cases, no, in the context of a particular case. Thank you.
I understand, my lord, and I agree.
Kade athi sibonelo sokusebenzisa-ke umfula lapho ukuthi ngabe ukuthi bekenza nje isibonelo sokuthizeni uma ngabe amaphoyisa esesha amacala kuva ukuthi akusukuthi wonke amacala bawasesha, kepha becala elithizeni lokho abakutholayo kumele osale kumuva, athi yebo kunjalo.
Now, thank you. Back to the case that we're busy with now. You amassed and collated all the information that you have just alluded to now, and prepared a memorandum that included all the information that you've just testified about now and presented it to the office of the DPP for a decision.
Bathi-ke lapho usuthole lonkana-ke ulwazi noma lonke ulwazi kade unalo-ke mayelana necala leli. Ngemuva ukuthola-ke ulwazi lonke lo kade unalo bese uyahamba-ke wena-ke uvakasha kumahhovisi wabashushisa abakhulu kwithimba lakhona-ke ekuthizeni ufike umikise i-presentation yakho, akusinjalo?
That's correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo noma yebo kuyiqiniso lokho?
Thank you. Now, the process that the office of the DPP as prosecutors will do in arriving at a particular decision, it's a very meticulous and a tedious one.
Athi-ke lapho-ke uhlelo noma mhlawumbe uhambo lwethimba labashushisi ngaphambi kokuthi bafike kusinqumo sabo-ke kumele bahlale phansi bacabange futhi bacabangisise kahle ngokujulile konke okusube banako ngaphambi kwabo, akusinjalo yini?
Please, my lord, I think this now for the third day that council has been busy with this same issue. Is the reason, my lord, why this issue is being revisited over and over again, my lord. We submit that it should now be ruled out. I think it's been sufficiently canvassed the past 3 days.
Now, I'm not so sure which issue is the state referring to, my lord. That has been repeated for almost 3 days.
It's talking about the selection.
The
selection of, for instance, the charges to be preferred, the indictment, etc.
No, I'm not.
And he says it's a process which is done by the staff of the DPP, but the Director of Public Prosecutions is the one who decides. Like we said, we must read section 196, 76, 79 of the NPA Act. This witness doesn't select or make a decision about charging. It can, at the worst, he can recommend. But the man who makes a decision, it's the DPP. Is that what you are trying to put across?
Yes, indeed, my lord. And the whole issue of the presentation of the docket, those issues have been covered in the past 3 days.
No, that is pretty wrong, my lord. I would never agree with that kind of an approach, because it's public knowledge. It's there in the internet. It's everywhere. How does an office of the or how does a prosecutor comes into a particular decision? I'm laying a background here to this witness of the question that I will come and pose to him later on. So I cannot be barred from laying a background, because that's public knowledge.
You mean the public knows how
prosecutors take decisions?
How the DPP performs her duties or his duties?
No, how do prosecutors take a decision?
How they perform their duties. Whether they take a decision or not, they perform a duty.
Yes, that's
so
public knowledge, man.
The public knows about that.
It's public knowledge. It's
Okay,
there in the NPA Act.
Fine.
Yes, it's there in the NPA Act,
Okay.
which is it's a national legislation. It's a public legislation. So there's nothing untoward from the question that I'm asking this witness.
Okay.
Thank you. So I was just saying that the process of making a decision by the office of the DPP is a very laborious, meticulous, and a tedious one.
Athi lapho ke so uthi isimu mhlawumbe uhambo nomhlawumbe uhlelo ovama ukuthatha ithimba labashushisi ke lapho ke uhambo olujulile futhi noma uhlelo olujulile lapho ke ngoba kumele baqaqaphe konke khona ke ngaphakathi kwalokade upresenta futhi naphakathi kwedocket bese bahlale phansi bakufundisise bese bacabangisise kahle ngaphambi kokuthatha isinqumo kusenjalo yini.
I'm listening, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
Thank you, Brigadier. In other words, they serve as a strain or a filter from what they received from investigating team and what they need to go and present at court.
Athi ke ngamanye amagama usukuthi bahlala phansi ke bona babuke lokhu abalethele ke umseshi wecala. Ngemuva ukuthi babuke ke lomse bahluza ke lapho ukuthi ngabe yini ukuthi bathathe bayimikise ngaphambi kungosenkantolo thizeni ke ingosenkantolo bese ithwesa abantu noma isici siyaqala ke ihlala phansi ilalela icala.
Listening, my lord. Yes.
Thank you.
Yebo ngilalele.
Thank you, Brigadier. And I've got no doubt in my mind that in this case, that is exactly what happened.
Athi akanako ukungabaza ke na ke ngicabanga ukuthi kulecala ngabe yilokho kwenzeka.
Before we proceed, or before I proceed, you had indicated that at some point there was an application for a warrant of arrest against Kelly Khumalo, which was not authorized. Did I get you well in that?
Athi ke esikhathini esidlule kunala ukukhuluma khona ke ngodaba lokuthi khona ke incwadi kade wena ke uyicelile noma isicelo kade usenzile sencwadi ezokuvumela noma ezokuphilungelo lekuthizeni amaphoyisa ke besabopha uKheli Khumalo. Athi ngabe ukuzwe kahle ama akuzwile kahle ngalo daba lolo.
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo ngizwe kahle.
Thank you. because also that information is now in the public domain, actually it came from you, what were the reason why that application was declined?
Athi-ke lolo lwazi lolo liqhamuke nawe-ke manje umbuzo kuwukuthi kungani isicelo sibangakaze basivume noma kungani sile banqaba-ke isicelo leso?
So the first part of the question, my lord, it is not 100% correct to say it came from me. It was initiated by the late Advocate Mngomezulu during the trial within trial. And
Athi lapho kumalana nephuzu lokuqala akusukuthi ulwazi luqhamuke naye. Kepha kulwazi lwaqhamuka nosele ashona noma sele angasekho-ke umnumzana Advocate Mngomezulu ngesikhathi kade abuza ke imibuzo ngesikhathi kade khona-ke umzila ngaphakathi kumzila la enkantolo noma icala kade ehlelwe phansi la enkantolo.
and such a statement then, my lord, was read. I read it. But I was under cross-examination by the defense of accused number 1.
Athi-ke futhi ngesikhathi leso-ke khona i-statement lapho-ke esafundwa-ke lapho-ke futhi kade bemphenya noma kade bembuza-ke imibuzo mayelana nodaba lwakamsola wokuqala.
And I indicated, my lord, that the reasons firstly were the issues of further investigations, which started as early as October. Subsequently, this statement that I'm talking about was in November 2014. So there were instructions that DPP felt that they should be acquired, but then subsequently the strategy of approaching the case moving forward. So it was a folded approach. It was not one. At the beginning, it was further investigations which were done, because if one looks at the time when we made a memorandum and indicating the phone numbers, and one looks, rather if you look at what was available when the memorandum was done and what was contained in the statement later for the warrant of arrest, there was more things. There were more things insofar as Ms. Kelly Kumalo. But during the discussion then, further investigations and certain approach were then discussed with the DPP, my lord.
My apologies, my lord. Can the witness please repeat it again?
So it was further instructions and the approach to the case, basically.
Athi lapho-ke ngesikhathi kade kusenzeka lokhu-ke khumule khona nje athi icala leli noma mhlambi-ke lapho-ke udlame noma mhlambi isehlo noma mhlambi-ke lapho-ke yebo isehlo senzeka ngo-October futhi ngesikhathi ngenyanga kaNovember kula kade khona besesha noma kade bephenya-ke khona-ke njalo-ke icala leli-ke futhi athi khona-ke iy'nqumo noma mhlambi lapho-ke uhambo noma mhlambi ukusesha kwecala noma mhlambi ukuphenya kwecala kade kusenziwa khona-ke lapho-ke futhi icala ukuthi kukhona-ke inkulumo ezenzeka lapho-ke futhi izo ezenzeka ukuthizeni banqabe noma yebo banqabe ekuthizeni bakhiphe-ke incwadi lekuthizeni uKelly Khumalo aboshwe.
Brigadier, I don't want to assume that I understand your answer now. I perfectly don't understand it.
Athi akazwisisi-ke akazwisisi yini akazwisisi neze impendulo yakho phane ngayo.
Now, oh sorry, you're saying the reason why that application was declined is because of further investigation. Further instructions. In that case, the investigation was started with in 2014. I'm unable to follow the reason why this application, as per your explanation, was declined.
I think yena-ke akakhoni ukuzwisisa ukuthi ngabe kungani isicelo lesi basinqaba bangakazi basivumele ngoba ukhuluma ukuthi khona-ke inkulumo lapho ekade ikhulunyiwe nokade kwade uyitsheliwe lapho-ke mayana nokuthi futhi nokuphenya kwecala noma nokusesha kwecala ngabe kahle kahle uthi yini uyikhulumayo mnumzane?
Please make me understand.
Athi ucela ukuthi umenze azwisise
the reason why application for warrant of arrest against Kelly was declined.
Ucela ukuthi lapho-ke umlekelele futhi umsize ngendlela eqondile ejulile ekuthizeni umtshele izizathu ekukuthi kungani isicelo sencwadi leyo kade uyicelile ekuthizeni uKelly Khumalo-ke aboshwe ukuthi bayinqabe incwadi leyo.
You know, the language is obviously incorrect. You're using declined. The other time you used authorized. The DPPP, in terms of the law anyway, decides whether a person must be charged or not. The DPP also decides whether a warrant of arrest should be issued against a person or not. And if he doesn't do that, the policemen who have come with, to put it loosely, a recommendation don't have any power to dissuade the DPP from doing his job. That's how I understand the law. So, the DPP, I think there's conclusive evidence that Baloyi must face charges, and the DPP refuses to charge. You've got remedies in terms of the law, which you can initiate. Like, for instance, to quote a case which is known by everybody, the case of the state versus Tint. It's been going for 20 years or 10 years, where a particular well-known individual was not charged in the initial matter. Some other person was charged, and that other person, allegedly, who were in cahoots with a person who is not charged, was sentenced to jail for I don't know how many years. And then the other person, subsequently, when there was a change of a DPP, the new DPP then charged the second person. That's how I understand the law. Am I correct in interpreting? I mean, you're a senior advocate.
Yes, in the sense that it's NDPP, not DPP.
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
There was a new
NDPP. Yeah, sorry.
yes. Yeah.
National Director of Public Prosecutions, in other words. DPP is his junior, like Dutoit and Baloyi and the doctor here.
Manje kusenkantolo lapho ke kade ibukisa futhi noma kade mhlawumbe idulika lokhona ke lapho nezomthetho ke abasebenza ngakho lapho kumahhovisi wabashushisa abakhulu lana eNingizimu Afrika ke athi lapho ke iphoyisa ngeke libe sesimeni esiqondile noma esimeni esikahle ethizeni siphendule ke malana nalombuzo kade kummelweni ubuzo ukuthi kungani incwadi lena ethizeni ukhele khumalo aboshwe ke noma isicelo sakhe sokuthi malana nencwadi kade icelile ethizeni ukhele khumalo aboshwe ukuthi kungani kade esele bayinqaba lapho ke ukuthi bangayivumeli incwadi leyo ke bese inkosi enkantolo athi khona ke lapho ke phoyisa ngeke likhona ukuthi liphendule kahle ke lapho umnomzana ubaba uGininda ngeke akhona aphendule lapho ke malana nodaba lolo ke ngoba kusiwe uthatha isinqumo ke lapho ke kepha ke ithimba noma ke ihhovisi labashushisa abakhulu ukuthi lapho ke National Director of Prosecutors nesingisi uthatha isinqumo thizeni umuntu kumele bamthuse icala noma akumele ukuthi bamthuse icala.
Is it please the court, my lord? This witness had already gave the reason why the application for the warrant of arrest against Kelly was declined.
By whom? Declined by whom? That's the point.
That doesn't matter, my lord, for me, in my cross-examination.
For me, it matters because I'm a judge. And then, if you say there's a person who has power to have declined a particular exigency, I must understand that language. That's why I said I let it pass when you said it was not authorized. It was declined.
Yes. Maybe just to assist the court as to who did not authorize it.
Yes.
The witness can answer that.
That's it. That's different.
Yes.
Manje bacela ukwazi ukuthi ngabe ubani ke lo ongakaze avume ekuthizeni ke avume incwadi le oduyisensile masicelo sakho sencwadi malana ukuthi ukhele khumalo aboshwe.
My lord, the procedure was as I've indicated. You collect the evidence, we forward it to the DPP here in Pretoria. Then decisions will be given to say indict on these ones, further investigation. That's how it unfolded, my lord.
Athi ke lapho ke isizathu salokho ukuthi yena ke wathatha ke ubufakazi kade nabo ke futhi wamnikisa kumahhovisi abashushisa abakhulu noma kwithimba abashushisa abakhulu lehhovisi lana ke Pretoria besathi ngemuva kwalokho bese umthetho na kumele uhambe ngalana kamacala malana nalabantu.
But it was not the correct context, my lord, that must be explained. There was no decline. We never reached a deadlock with DPP where they say, despite this evidence, we don't want to charge. There were, as I've said, there were further instructions and the approach that the DPP wanted to take in prosecuting the case. And that's not my terrain, my lord. I can't impose. I can only present what I have and take guidance from the people who will lead the case during the prosecution. But it will not be correct to say there was a refusal. There were certain discussions, but there were no position to say, despite what we see, we don't agree or we refuse. It was simply further instruction at first, and then the approach to the matter. That was my understanding of why then the Kelly Khumalo was not added.
Athi-ke lapho ngeke athina-ke incwadi leyo bayinqaba abakaze bayivumeka ithimba labashushisi abakhulu-ke lapho-ke kepha uyasho khona nje ngemuva kwenkulumo zabo noma ngesikhathi kade bekhulumisana khona njalo bexoxa ithimba lakhe ithimba labashushisi-ke lapho-ke labamtshela khona ekuthizeni ngoba kade besaphina-ke icala futhi bona kwathatha isinqumo sokuthizeni leyo nto leyo ingenzeki mhlawumbe abaza nohlangothi lokuthi lolo daba lolo lungenzeki athi akusuye futhi yena lapho-ke akanawo umthelela walolu daba lolo.
And lastly, my lord, it will really be, I think, difficult for me and to an extent unfair if then I'm placed in a position where I must speak on behalf of the NPA, because then I don't think I have that ground. I did my part. I presented the evidence and I indicated what was discussed. I'm not sure if I'm in a position to take it further than that insofar as the decisions that the NPA take, my lord. I don't think I'm qualified to do that.
Athena-ke acabanga ukuthi usesimeni esiqondile noma esimeni esikahle ethizini kakhulu mayelana ney'nqumo ethathwa lapho-ke ithimba labashushisi abakhulu kuhhovisi labashushisi abakhulu-ke lapho-ke ngoba-ke bona-ke basebenza ngendlela yabo ekhethekile eyaziwa yibona kuphela yena-ke athi akanalo ulwazi ukuthi bona basebenza kanjani uma ngaba iza kudaba lokuthi bathatheke iy'nqumo athi futhi akazi ukuthi isizathu yini sokuthi kuncedwe ukuthi bangamniki bangayivumi-ke lapho-ke noma bangamvumeli noma mhlawumbe bayinqabe incwadi yakhe kade ayicelile ekuthizeni naye bamthwese icala futhi mayelana nokuthi aboshwe futhi athwese icala njengokufana nabasolwa.
Those are my responses, my lord.
Athi yebo iyona-ke impendulo yakhe leyo.
Brigadier, you've mentioned the reason why it was not approved. It was for further instructions. My question was very simple. What did this mean, this further instruction? What was this further instructions for?
Bathi bakuzile-ke umbuzo-ke mnumzana ubaba ubrigadier Gininda ukuthi kungani bengayivumile incwadi isicelo sakhe okuthizeni uKelly Khumalo naye aboshwe futhi athwese amacala njengabasolwa-ke isathuna kungemuva kwey'nkulumo zenu-ke lezo ake ninazo-ke lapho-ke manje ummeli ufisa ukwazi ukuthi iy'nkulumo ziphi-ke lezo.
My lord, the procedure when you submit a docket to the DPP, you submit the docket and then you leave. You do not sit, like for instance in this situation where there are 3 advocates. I've never been in a situation where I sit with them and hear their views insofar as the decision, particularly in the decision-making process, where I'm part of it. So that's why I'm saying it's difficult for me to be placed as to why action insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo is concerned was taken, because I was not there. All I can say is that there were instructions for further investigation at the beginning, and then subsequently the case then it kicked off, because when I applied for a warrant of arrest, the case had already kicked off in Boksburg. In other words, the first appearance on the 27th of October had already came and gone. And the next appearance, I think, was on the 27th of November, somewhere there. So I'm not sure if I can take it further than that, my lord, insofar as the NPA position is concerned. I'm not qualified, my lord, really, with due respect.
Athi yena-ke lapho kokwenzeka ngesikhathi kade amikisa-ke i-presentation mhlawumbe idocket lakhe kumahhovisi wethimba labashushisi-ke abakhulu-ke lapho kade yena kakaze ahlale phansi nabo futhi afune idocket nabo bese bakhulumisana ngedocket bebonkana mhlawumbe hlezi bebathathu-ke lapho-ke asithi mhlawumbe yena njengomholi lokade ahola-ke ithimba labaseshi bezesiphoyisa futhi nethimba labashushisi-ke lapho-ke athina into awayenza kuwukuthi amikise-ke idocket lapho-ke kuphela bese ahambe-ke lapho-ke athi akazi ukuthi bona ngesikhathi ade bebheke idocket ukuthi yini siphi isinqumo noma yini into ebalithe kwisinqumo abasithatha-ke lapho-ke futhi athi ukhumbula khona nje athi ngelanga lange-27 zaka-October ngesikhathi baqedela lapho-ke usesha icala malana nalo muntu othizeni-ke lapho-ke kade sele abasola bavele sebeqhamukile ngaphambi kwenkantolo yaseBoksburg ngelanga lange-27 zaka-October futhi athi acabanga khona nje athi mhlawumbe baqhamuka ngaphambi kwenkantolo futhi ngelanga lange-27 zaka-November khona lapho akanaso isiqiniseko selanga lesibili ngesikhathi atenivela ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo.
And the instruction, my lord, for further investigations insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo was really the instruction that said find more evidence to connect Ms. Kelly Khumalo to the accused in this matter. It was just It was just around that, my lord.
Athi futhi malana nenkulumo kuyaqhamuka ekuthizeni ngesikhathi kade bemtshela akahamba ayophenyisa isicala noma mhlawumbe enze kokuphenya kwecala kahle ngeqondile futhi endlela ejulile kade bamtshela ukuthi yena ke noma mhlawumbe inkulumo kade ihambisana kulolu daba noma kade ihamba ngalo hlangothi lokuthi kumele ukuthi ahambe ayophenya icala lakhe kahle ngendlela ejulile futhi ngendlela eqondile ke bese abuye athole ukuthi ngabe yini exhumanisa ukhele ukhumalo futhi nabasolwa kule cala leli.
That's my response, my lord.
Athi yona ke impendulo yakhe anayo leyo.
Thank you, Brigadier. At least the final point, it sounds more intelligent. The instruction that came from the office of the DPP was to the effect that go find more evidence to connect Kelly to the accused person, and therefore on those bases, we won't authorize, we won't authorize that a warrant of arrest against her should be issued.
Athi lapho ke uyabonga ke babu Brigadier Kininda ngoba impilo yakhe yona impilo ehlakaniphile le impilo yogcina ukhulumile. Athi lapho kusubatshela ukuthi wena ke hamba uyothola ufakazi obuqondile futhi ufakazi lobo obuxhumanisa ke abasola bonkana futhi nokhela ukhumalo ngaphambi kokuthi ke ithimba labashushisa abakhulu noma ihhovisi abashushisa abakhulu ke lapho ke bavume mana nesicelo sakho sencwadi yakho ekuthizeni ke ukhela ukhumalo naye aboshwe.
I'm listening, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
Now, in other words, that which you had presented to the office of the DPP, with which you are trying to link Kelly Khumalo to the commission of these offenses here, the DPP looked at it and found that it had no, it's something that they cannot use to drag Kelly or to frog match Kelly into the court.
As a court, please, my lord. I really fail to understand this line of cross-examination. The witness has repeatedly said he doesn't know what the reasons are, why the office, the DPP, took this particular decision, and we submit, my lord, that it's unfair now to ask this question to the witness. He's already said he can't take it further than that. As a court, please.
Maybe the state is listening to another evidence here. The witness says, I cannot take it further than that.
I think these acerbic and obnoxious comments from my learned friends should now come to a stop. I think he should just carry on with his work without having to make these ad hominem attacks.
This witness says, I'm unable to take it further than that. But because he's such an laborious person, he finally comes to a point where he says that he was instructed to go find more evidence to connect Kelly to the accused persons. That is the reason why I am saying that apparently the state is not listening to the same evidence that we're listening to here. Whether that is acerbic or what, it's for him to make that judgment. But I'm meticulously listening to this witness, which is the reason why I am then saying, Brigadier Kininda, thank you very much. Because at least what you have just said in the last part of your answer makes sense. That the DPP said to you, we are unable to authorize that warrant of arrest because what you have brought to us now is insufficient. Can you please go and find more evidence in order to connect Kelly Khumalo to this accused person? It came from this witness. So what is acerbic there? But in any event, let me proceed.
Now the acerbic.
Let me proceed, my lord.
It's not what you are saying. It's what your comment is.
That the state is not listening to the same evidence.
Yeah.
Exactly, my lord, because I do not expect such an objection from my colleague.
You guys have lectured you
of such a senior level.
Mr. Mnisi, I've lectured you on the discourse of court proceedings.
Yes.
I actually read how you mustn't address each other. That's why I'm keeping quiet now. That's why I'm keeping quiet.
I think it's best for the court, my lord, to keep
Yeah,
quiet.
because
Yes.
I've
then the
realized that
Yes.
some councils here,
Yes.
they don't care about etiquette, the etiquette and the decorum of court. He's listening to another case. That's why he's taking offense. Because he's
Exactly, my
only
lord.
listening to this case. And if you interpret that he's listening to another case, somebody angathi udakiwe mos.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, no interpretation. The
I don't know.
interpretation.
I don't
If he's
know.
listening
I
to
don't
another
know.
case and he's sitting
All-
here with me for 5 hours a day, then there's something wrong with him. That's how he interprets it. You can ask him.
My lord, the fact that somebody would say he's drunk, that doesn't come from me.
Yes.
It didn't come from me. I am only making that submission
You must,
simply
you
because
must analyze the word acerbic. Analyze it. Fine. Let's continue.
we can have a dictionary, my lord.
No,
that we
I
can
don't.
analyze
Me, I
this.
know. I don't want a dictionary. You can
Okay,
check
then
it.
I do not know it.
Yeah, fine.
Yes. But the fact of the matter is, at least this witness ultimately, painfully so, he mentioned that ultimately the office of the DPP told him to go find more evidence against Kelly Khumalo in order to tie her in this case. And thank you very much for that, sir.
My Lord, I think I'm being quoted out of context. I've said that part and I've said it proper, so perhaps let me then start again. I said prior to the appearance of this accused, Ms. Kelly Khumalo was part of the people based on the evidence that we had, which I was of the view that she should be arraigned with the accused. We then...
Athi-ke ufakazi ngixolisa baba ngixolisa. Athi-ke ufakazi lapho ke yena-ke abamzwile kahle futhi ucanti mhlawumbe lo daba lo alidikide ngendlela elandelayo mhlawumbe alusho ngale ndlela elandelayo. Athi ngaphambi kokuthi abasola baqhamuke ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo kade ke analo ke ulwazi oluthizeni ulwazi lolo ke kade luxhumanisa ukhili futhi nabasolwa kepha ke ngesikhathi beqeda uvela ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo.
So in essence, my Lord, I'm saying when we made the first memorandum presenting the evidence which involved this accused, same was done insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo, and the same desire to have her arraigned was placed there at the beginning. That is now prior to the first appearance and the issuing of indictment.
Athi ngaphambi kokuthi bayowenza bona ke lapho ke memorandum yabo no memorandum yokuqala kade lokhu lohlelo abalenza malana nabasolwa ilulu abalenza futhi malana noKelly Khumalo ngaphambi ukuthi abasolwa bovula ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo.
Indictment came with the 5 accused, and that is where the instructions for further investigation insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo to add this accused then came as a response insofar as she is concerned.
Athi-ke lapho ke khona ke umbhalo mhlambe noma incwadi yaqhamuka lapho ke incwadi le eqhamuka kwethimba noma kwehhovisi abashoshisa abakhulu ke lapho ke la ibhala khona ke amacala ekuthosa kubona ke abantu futhi namagama wabasolwa ke lapho ke athi lo incwadi le kade kubhalwe ke abasolwa abahlanu nje kuphela ke bese ngemuva kwalokho bamtshela ke lapha kwehhovisi abashoshisa abakhulu ekuthizeni akahambe okwenza ke ophenya icala noma osearcha icala ekuthizeni athole lokhu kade kumele ukuthi akuthole xhumanisa phakathi kwaba That
was done, my Lord, which resulted now in the application, the statement that we're referring to, that we needed to arrest Ms. Kelly Khumalo in November 2014.
Athi lokho kokwenziwa futhi manje nesicelo lesi wasenza ke kade kungumnyaka kaNovember ngo-2014 ngenyanga kaNovember ngesikhathi wathola incwadi leyo ukuthi acela incwadi ukuthizeni ke bamthwese noma aboshwe.
And this is the part, my Lord, I'm referring to say it will be now unfair, and I'll be placed in a difficult position where I must now indicate why a decision insofar as that was not taken by the DPP, because I can't speak on behalf of the DPP. Instructions were given, followed, complied, but I do know that the strategy, as the matter was already enrolled, and I want that to be clear, my Lord, that what was clear, there was no denial or refusal that the DPP wants to pursue, want to proceed against Ms. Kelly Khumalo. But the difficulty is, I can't speak on behalf of the DPP, my Lord. I followed the instructions, presented the evidence, and I think if this issue must be taken further, perhaps someone from DPP can deal with it, my Lord. To place me there in that position, I think is really, because like I said, I don't sit in the decision-making situation. I don't have that authority, my Lord.
Athi-ke lapho-ke na-ke manje selibambeka ngaphansi kwesimo esibucayi noma ngaphansi kwesimo esinzima-ke lapho-ke ngoba thina angekhe akhona ukuphendula-ke ihhovisi lethimba labashushisi uma ngabe thatha-ke inqumo ekuthizeni ngabe kungani bathatha lesinqumo basithathe sokuthi na-ke uKelly Khumalo angaqhamuke phambi kwenkosi enkantolo nabasola laba-ke futhi athi ngesikhathi ade bemtshela lokho-ke icala leli beselivele selifakiwe ngaphambi kwenkosi enkantolo inkantolo encane.
So that's how far I can take it, my lord. What I wanted to correct is the insinuation that the part of the further investigation came last. It's not the other way, it's the other way around. Memorandum, indictment comes on the 5 accused, further instructions comes insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo is concerned. That investigation was done and presented.
Athi lapho-ke memorandum wayenza-ke lapho-ke ngemuva ukuthi enze memorandum yakhe lapho bese kwabuya-ke indictment esho ukuthi ile phepha leli noma mhlawumbe le ncwadi lena-ke ebhalwa-ke amacala abathweswa-ke abantu futhi nenkantolo la bazovela ngaphambi kwayo futhi negama-ke labasolwa kathi ngesikhathi bekathola-ke incwadi leyo-ke kade igama lakaKelly Khumalo lingekho ngaphakathi kwale ncwadi leyo-ke kepha amagama kade akhona-ke amagama abasola bonkana laba abahlanu abavela ngaphambi kwenkosi enkantolo esikhathini samanje kethe ngemuva kwalokho kulabamtshela khona ukuthi na-ke akahambe ayokwenza futhi umsebenzi wakhe futhi ngendlela ejulile ethizeni aphenye ukuthi noma mhlawumbe aseshe ukuthi ngabe yini exhumanisa uKelly Khumalo futhi nabasola.
That's my response, my lord.
You saying, Brigadier, November 2014. I heard you saying that. November 2014 is almost a month after the death of the deceased. Were you already an investigating officer then?
Bathi ngizoe ukukhuluma ngenyanga kaNovember ngomnyaka 2014. Ukhumbule khona njalo ngoNovember ngomnyaka 2014 bengemuva nje kwesikhathi senyanga eyodwa ngemuva kokushona kukamufi. Ngabe ngizwe kahle yini Fakazi?
No. I think I made a mistake, my lord. That is why I said the accused made the first appearance on the 27th of October. The year should have been 2020, and the November I'm referring to is the one of 2020. So there was an error on my side, my lord.
Athi lapho ucabanga ukuthi wenze iphutha lapho-ke ngoba-ke abasolwa-ke ngesikhathi bevela ngaphambi kwenkosi enkantolo encane kade noma ngaphansi kwenkantolo encane-ke lapho-ke kade ku-27 zaka-October ngomnyaka ka-2020 nathi ngoba athi 2014 lapho kwathi wenze iphutha.
Let us put this item at rest, Brigadier. The directive that you got from the DPP's office with regard to the fact that the warrant of arrest against Kelly could not be authorized is because they were requesting you to go find more evidence to connect Kelly to the 5 accused. So, in short.
Bathi nje ngokunciphile baba usho ukuthi ngesikhathi kade uthola-ke lapho-ke inkulumo eqhamuka kwe-office lethimba labashushisi abakhulu kukuthi bacela ukuthi wena-ke uhambe uyosesha icala. Uma usesha icala bese uthola-ke ufakazi obuxhumanisa uKelly Khumalo futhi nabasola bobahlanu laba abavela ngaphambi kwenkosi enkantolo athi akusinjalo yini?
That was the instruction at the beginning, my lord, and that instruction was complied with. Hence, I'm saying in November 2020 there was then this application which contained more evidence that we had prior to the presentation, or that we had when we presented the memorandum.
Athi yebo khona-ke kunjalo kepha la kukwenza ngomnyaka 2020 kepha ngesikhathi kusenzeka lokho-ke kula kade naye-ke kade sekamikisile i-presentation futhi kungemuva kokuthi bekavele anolwazi oluningi futhi ulwazi olujulile.
Now, you are saying subsequent to this first directive that you need to go get more information to connect Kelly to the 5, to the accused, you complied with those instructions and returned the case docket to the office of the DPP. Is that what you're saying?
Athi ngabe usho ukuthi ngemuva ukuthi kutholeke inkulumo lokuthi hamba uyokusesha icala noma uyophenya icala lakhe lapho-ke leli bese uthola ulwazi oluxhumanisa-ke uKelly Khumalo futhi nabasola bobahlanu labaqhamuka phambi kwenkosi yenkantolo. Athi usho ukuthi ngemuva kade umikisa lolo lwazi bonalo docket kwena?
No. What I'm saying is the office of the DPP says to Brigadier Kininda, at this moment we are unable to allow the authorization of the warrant of arrest against Kelly Khumalo because we want you to go and find more evidence to connect Kelly Khumalo to the accused. Let's hold it there.
Isilungiso ke lapho ke bathi umnumzana uBrigadier Gininde bamtshela ukuthi ethimba laba le office abashusha abakhulu ukuthi akahambe ke athole ulwazi lolo oluningi futhi olujulile oxhumanisa abasola bobahlanu ke futhi noKheli Khumalo ngaphambi ukuthi bavume mayelana nodaba lencwadi yakhe yesicelo ekuthi zina ke aboshwe.
Now, is he then saying, subsequent to this instruction, he went out and did further investigation and then remitted that case docket back to the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions?
Bathi ke ngemuva kwale nkulumo shuthi wena ke wahamba wosesha icala noma mhlawumbe waphenya icala bese ngemuva kwaloko babuya futhi wamikisa idoketi kuthimba labashushisa abakhulu.
Because I heard him saying that those instructions were complied with.
Ngoba athi uzwe usithi inkulumo yabo wayisala emuva bese wenza njengoba kade utsheliwe.
Yes, my lord. As I indicated, it was a prosecutorial driven investigation. The directive for further investigation came from the office of the DPP. Once that was done, the presentation was made to the same office because that was the prosecuting authority. I couldn't take it elsewhere because you get directives in that office.
Athi yebo khona ke kunjalo ngoba ukhumbule khona njalo lapho ke na kuthola ke inkulumo futhi ade besebenzisana ithimba leziphoyisa labaseshi emathimba yebo ithimba labashushisi futhi ithimba leziphoyisa ade besebenzisana ndawonye ke lapho ke athi yebo walalela futhi inkulumo yabo kuthizeni akahambe othola ke ulwazi olugcwele noma mhlawumbe aseshe icaca icala ngokugcwele athi ngemuva kwaloko siwamikisa lokho ade kutholile futhi lapho ke nakazi ukuthi isinqumo uma sithathwa lapha basatha ngaphansi kwezihlalo ezinjani ke noma ngaphansi kwesimo senjani ngoba lapho ke akasebenzi khona ke futhi uma abashushisi bethatha inqumo yena akakho lapho.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And then subsequent to this later submission of the case docket by yourself to the office of the DPP, then the office of the DPP came with a final decision on who must be indicted and on who must not be indicted, not so?
Bathi yoshuthi ngemuva kokuthi wena ke umikisa ke submission yakho mhlawumbe umikisa ke ulwazi lakho ngemuva kwesikhathi ke lapho ke usho ukuthi ithimba labashushisi bathatha isinqumo sokuthi ubani kumele athuswe icala nokuthi ubani kungamele athuswe icala akusenjalo yini?
No, it's not like that. It's incorrect, my lord.
Athi cha akukho njalo akulona iqiniso lelo.
The first submission was made prior to October 2020. That submission included Ms. Kelly Khumalo.
Athi lapho ke ngesikhathi bekayimikisa ipresentation yakhe nomhlanje submission yakhe lokho kwenzeka ngaphambi komnyaka ka2020 futhi lapho ke noKheli Khumalo kade akhona ngaphakathi kwesubmission futhi iqokethiwe igama lakhe lapho ke.
Now, in response to that submission, my lord, an indictment that we referred to yesterday, the BNG1 dated 22 October 2020 was given, and in that indictment these accused were people that were choosing to say you can proceed with the 5 accused on the following charges, which is what we referred to yesterday on BNG1, my lord.
Athi lapho ke ngesikhathi beka lapho ke ethola lokho ke abathi BNG1 ngomnyaka ngelanga la nge22 zaka October ngomnyaka 2020 ngesikhathi bekathola ke incwadi leqhamuka kuthimba le office labashushisa abakhulu kula batshela khona ke malana nodaba lencwadi lapho ke ibhaliwe khona ke ethizeni kumele aqhubeke necala lakhe malana nalabantu abalandelayo ke abahlanu abavela phambi kwenkesenkantolo kumanje.
The warrant of arrest, my lord, affidavit was made by me, and then it was authorized on the 23rd of October 2020 for all 5 accused. Warrants of arrest were issued.
Athi lapho ke bale incwadi ukuthi ke abasola baboshwe ke lapho ke incwadi bayivuma futhi bese bayikhipha ke ngelanga la nge23 zaka October ngomnyaka ka2020 ngomnyaka ka2020 ke lapho ke mayelana nabasola bobahlanu laba abaqhamuka phambi kwenkesenkantolo kumanje.
Insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo, further instructions were given to say go and do further investigation on at that stage, my lord.
Athi futhi malana nodaba lokaKheli Khumalo kulapho kwaqhamuka khona ke inkulumo ukuthi yena ke akahambe ufakazi ayosesha icala ngogcwele futhi ngokujulile mayelana nodaba lokaKheli Khumalo.
The accused before court were notified of these charges. Notice of rights were given to them on the 26th of October 2020, and on the 27th of October 2020 they made a first appearance in Boksburg Magistrate Court. That is October now 2020.
Athi-ke futhi uMajobele ngingazela kathi ngelanga lange-26 zaka-October ngomnyaka ka-2020 kula khona-ke naboshwa ngalo-ke bese mqeda oboshwa nafundela amalungelo enu. Ngemuva ukuthi nifundela amalungelo enu bese ngelanga elilandelayo ilanga lange-27 zaka-October ngomnyaka ka-2020 bese naqala navela ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo okokuqala ngaphansi kwenkantolo yaseBoksburg.
Now, subsequent to that, my lord, instructions or the instructions for further investigations were being conducted by me and the team. Then in November of 2020, after collecting more evidence, this docket now, this is the part we are referring to, the second part, was then submitted again with the evidence and the proposal that Kelly should now be added. This is now the second time around insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo is concerned.
Athi-ke malana nodaba lwaKelly Khumalo ngenyanga kaNovember ke ngomnyaka ka-2020 ngesikhathi bekamikisa-ke ingxenye yosesha kwicala lakhe yena-ke nethimba lakhe kade besesha khona-ke mayelana nodaba lwaKelly Khumalo mayelana nolwazi kade belitholile lapho-ke kulaba nimikisa khona-ke bese bacela ukuthi uKelly Khumalo abamjobelele kulabasola bamfake.
So that's what happened, my lord. So the matter in essence was already enrolled when I complied with the instructions of further investigation for Ms. Kelly Khumalo.
Athi lapho-ke yiyona-ke indlela ekwenzeka ngayo-ke izinto-ke lapho-ke futhi yena wayilalela inkulumo kade bemtshele yona-ke ithimba lehhovisi abashushiswa abakhulu bese wesala-ke emuva wenza njengoba kade bemtshelile.
Thank you, Brigadier. I just want to make assurance establish sure that I follow what you're saying. In brief, you submitted this docket and your memorandum to the office of the DPP where you also recommended that Kelly Khumalo must be charged, not so?
Athi-ke ngokunciphile wona-ke wasubmitha idokhethi leli-ke kwithimba lehhovisi abashushiswa abakhulu-ke bese wacela ukuthi uKelly Khumalo abamjobelele nabamfake lana kulabasola kusenjalo.
That's correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
The DPP went through that memorandum and the case docket and decided to indict the 5 accused that are before court here and gave you instructions to go get more evidence to connect Kelly to or with these 5 accused persons.
Athi lapho kusho ukuthi ithimba labashushiswa abakhulu bese bakunika lapho indictment noma incwadi wayibiza ukuthi indictment incwadi leyo ke ibhalwe amagama abasola futhi amacala abathwesa bona-ke futhi ngemuva kwalapho sebakutshela ukuthi wena hamba uyokwenza uphenya kwicala lakho mayelana noKelly Khumalo uthole ulwazi olumxhumanisa nabasola bonkana kusenjalo.
My lord, further instructions were given insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo.
Athi lapho ke khona ke inkulumo abamtshela yona-ke mayelana nodaba lwaKelly Khumalo.
Yes. Some of which are go find more evidence to connect Kelly Khumalo with these accused persons in the commission of the offense, not so?
Bathi mayelana nenkulumo ke lapho okade bekutshela yona-ke ithimba labashushiswa abakhulu kuwukuthi thola ulwazi olujulile noma ulwazi oluningi ulwazi lolo okuzoba ufakazi mayelana nokuxhumana kwabasolwa abaqhamuka phambi kwesenkantolo futhi noKelly Khumalo mayelana naso lesigameko lesi akusenjalo.
Yes, that could have been part of it, but it was basically to obtain evidence, my lord, that will link it to the offense.
Athi yebo lokho kade kuzohambisana nalokho kepha bekuwukuthi sitholeke ufakazi obuxhumanisake obuxhumana nobunye ufakazi esinabo kulicala.
Thank you. Now, in the meantime, warrant of arrest will authorize against these 5 accused now.
Athi-ke ngesikhathi leso kwesakhipha-ke incwadi ukuthi-ke abasola bonkana laba abahlanu-ke ababoshwe.
That is correct, my lord.
Yebo kunjalo.
The warrant of arrest were executed and ultimately they made their first appearance in Boksburg somewhere in 27 October 2020, not so?
Bathi lapho-ke ngemuva ukuthi bakhiphe incwadi thize-ke abasola ababoshwe incwadi ngemuva bayikhiphe bese nayisala emuva na incwadi leyo bese nabathola abasola nababopha-ke ngemuva ukuthi abasola ababoshwe bese baqala bavela ngaphambi kwenkantolo-ke encane yaseBoksburg-ke lapho-ke ngelanga lange-27 zaka-October ngomnyaka ka-2020 akusenjalo.
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
Thank you. And then around November, you then took, now I don't know whether you wrote another memorandum, but then you then took the case docket that you were investigating with whatever that you would have unearthed subsequent to the indictment of this accused person and the instruction that you got from the DPP. You took it back to the office of the DPP to decide whether or not Kelly must be indicted, not so.
Bathi lapho kona umikisa ke futhi akazi mhlawumbe angathi docket noma indictment ngesikhathi bohamba ngonyaka kaNovember ngomnyaka ka2020 uya lapha kuhhovisi abashushisi abakhulu mayelana nolwazi adulitholile bese wacela ukuthi wena uKelly Khumalo abamfake kulaba sola mhlawumbe bamjobelele kulaba sola kusenjalo yini?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
Would that be the time when you made an application for a warrant of arrest?
Bathi ngabo yisona ke isikhathi leso la kade wena ke wenza incwadi yesicelo sokuthi uKelly Khumalo akaboshwe?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
Thank you. And that was in November 2020.
Bathi lokho ngabe kwenzeka ngenyanga kaNovember ngomnyaka ka2020?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
Thank you. And the trial at the High Court commenced when in 2023, nay, before the Honorable Judge Judge Maumela, that is in 2022. Yeah, I'm not so sure. I was not yet. Oh, in 2022. Thank you.
Bathi ke ngesikhathi ke icala behlelele phansi ngaphambi kwenkosi enkantolo noma ngaphambi kwenkantolo ephakeme kade kumnyaka 2022 futhi inkosi enkantolo kade ku Judge Maumela kusenjalo?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
And up until that moment, a decision had not yet been made by the office of the DPP to charge Kelly or not.
Bathi ke suthi ngaso lesikhathi leso isinqumo kade singakaqhamuki kuba kwithimba labashushisi abakhulu ekuthizeni bathwese uKelly Khumalo amacala noma bangamthwesi amacala kusenjalo?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
And this is despite the fact that you had November 2020 placed the information that was contained in the docket against her. That's now the new information that you received, not so?
Suthi ngaphandle kokuthi wena kade umikiseke ulwazi olusha kade unalo ke ngenyanga kaNovember ngomnyaka 2020 ngabe kusinjalo yini?
Yes, I did submit the docket in November 2020, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo ngalimikisa mina ke docket ngenyanga kaNovember ngomnyaka ka2020.
Thank you. Now, we're in a position or we're in a situation where the 5 accused we're in a position where the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions takes a decision and say, let us indict these 5 accused persons who are now appearing here at court. But with regard to Kelly, let us see if there's information that will come up for us to be able to give out an instruction to indict her. But for now, we do not indict her.
Bathi manje athi ummeli manje singaphansi kwesimo ke isimo lisihamba ngalendlela elandelayo. Isimo sakhona ukuthi ithimba leoffice abashushisi abakhulu eNational Director of Prosecution ukuthi bathi bona ke asithwese abasula abahlanu amacala bese ke uKelly Khumalo nasime kancane ngayo.
As a court, please, my lord. I think counsel is saying that with the greatest of respect is misconceiving the evidence of the witness. The witness has confined his response not only to the evidence but also to strategy, which counsel doesn't touch upon. The witness has said it also boils down to question of strategy, so it's not only about the evidence.
My lord, I can talk about what is before this court. I can speak about what is before this court. Before this court, the 5 accused persons that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions decided to indict. But in the memorandum and the case docket, we know, in terms of the evidence of this witness, that he recommended that Kelly Khumalo must also be charged. Then the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution says, no, we are unable to issue that directive now because we want you to go get more evidence against Kelly to connect her against these individuals. It will be very imprudent of me to start to talk about strategies. This court is not concerned about strategies, it's concerned about what is before him now. And I can only confront this witness about what is before this court. And before this court, are these 5 accused persons, and what is also before this court is what this witness has said about Kelly. Thank you.
And if I may respond to that, my lord, the issue pertaining to Ms. Kelly Khumalo, it's a collateral issue. And the law is very clear. An answer to a collateral issue should put that issue to rest. It doesn't help to pursue that issue over and over again. Counsel might not like the answer, but that's what the law says. It's a collateral issue, and the answer to that issue should put that matter to rest. There's no point in flogging the issue, over and over again.
As it is the court, my lords, there's nothing wrong that I'm doing in what I'm doing now. I am simply summarizing contextually the testimony of this witness here. This witness come up with the fact that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions gave him further instructions to go get more evidence to connect Kelly with these 5 accused persons here. This witness further told to this court that as a result of that, the warrant of arrest against Kelly could not be authorized. This witness told to this court that in November he again took back that case docket to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. But up until now, the position as is that Kelly is not one of the accused persons that are before court here. What is not worth pursuing in terms of that picture, my lord? I will floge this horse until it comes up or it gets alive.
What? If you want?
The state says it is no use flogging something which is not there.
Flogging?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes. I remember, my lord, I'm from Zethu High School. The teachers who taught us English, they would say words in isiZulu, and you say in English, this is the word. Yes. These things of how to pronounce words, they were not there. Although we knew that sometimes when we would go to debate there outside, we would say there's no master of pronunciation. Yes, we grew up knowing that there's no master of pronunciation. You see. So when I say floge, it should be understood in the context of what my colleague was saying. Yes. So he says there's no use in flogging or in flogging what is not there. And my response to him is, if it needs be, I'll keep on flogging and flogging and flogging up until such time that the horse comes alive. Thank you, my lord. Thank you, sir. Now, that is the mosaic. That is the complete picture that we have now presented on your preparation of the memorandum, your submission of your memorandum and the case docket to the court, and the processes that went through the decision making by the state, who had to be indicted and who had not to be indicted, in summary.
Athi uma qedela ke inkulumo yakho noma uma iqedela futhi ayisho njengesithombe esigcwele ukuthi mina nolwazi kade ke unaloko kuwena wathatha konke lokho kade unako ke bese wahamba nako presenter ngaphambi kwabashushisi noma ngaphambi kweteam labashushisi abakhulu ke bese ngemuva kwaloko wathola ke indictment usho indictment ile esho ukuthi kumele ukuthi abasola kube abobani futhi kwakuthi abasola kube abobani futhi namacala abawathosa ukuthi kumele kube amacala waphi ke lapho ke noma kumele ukuthi kube amacala maphi.
Yes, in essence, that's what happened, my lord.
Athi yebo njengogcwele yilokho kwenzeka.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, Brigadier, you had read into record the outcome of the decision of the Director of Public Prosecutor in respect of the memorandum and the case docket that you submitted You read here that exhibit, I don't know, exhibit 22, you reread it into the record. And you also referred to this court to the instructions that were attached in the statement as BNG1. So,
Athi-ke baba khona-ke la kade ufunda khona-ke izolo ukhumbule khona njalo mayelana nesinqumo esaqhamuka kwithimba labashushisi abakhulu futhi mayelana nenkulumo kade bekutshela yona ukuthi kumele ukuthi lapho bathwese bani icala athi lapho-ke le nkulumo kade uyifunda ngaphansi kwekhasi laka BNG1 akusinjalo?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo?
I'm sorry, my lord, I'm just been corrected here. It's not exhibit 22, this handwriting. It's actually being said that it is exhibit ZZ, not 22. But when you look at it, it looks like 22. Not so, Mr. Ramsuti. It looks like 22. Yeah. Thank you.
Athi lapho-ke uyaxolisa nje silungise esinane kuwukuthi umbukiso lo ngakhona kumbukiso ka-22 amashumi amabili anesibili kepha umbukiso lo uZZ2.
Thank you, my lord. Now we know that in terms of that decision, number one, the DPP says to you, Mr. Kininda, thank you for your investigation.
Athi manje siyazi-ke ukuthi malana nodaba lakho olukhona lapho kuwukuthi ithimba lehhovisi labashushisi bathi bakubonga babuGininda malana nokusesha kwecala.
Now we have come to the concerted view, to the considered view that Mr. Sibia, Mr. Ntanzi, Mr. Nube, Mr. Mapisa, and Mr. Ntuli should be indicted for trial in the High Court of South Africa.
Lapho kade afuna khona-ke amagama-ke wasola waqhamuka ngaphambi abavela ngaphambi kusenkantolo lapho-ke umnumzana uSibiya, umnumzana uNtanzi, umnumzana uMncube ukuthi futhi noMaphisa ukuthi bona ngibona kumele baqhamuke ngaphambi kusenkantolo.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that decision.
Athi akukho okungalungile mayelana nesinqumo sabo.
Now, the DPP has got all the prerogative, the discretion, the powers to take such a decision.
Athi lapho-ke ihhovisi labashushisi abakhulu-ke banawo wonke-ke amandla noma banako ngaphansi komthetho ekuthiziye masithathe isinqumo noma isiphi abasifuna-ke.
Do you still follow that far?
Athi ngabe usangilandela nje namanje?
Yes, I do follow, my lord.
Thank you, sir.
Athi yebo ngizakuzwa.
Now, further to that, the DPP says, Brigadier Kininda, this is just the first step. The second step is, let us identify what charges must we then bring against them for them to go and face at the High Court.
Athi-ke lelo-ke uhambo lokuqala bese-ke uhambo lwesibili-ke lapho kukuthi ngabe babuza ukuthi ngabe iwaphi-ke amacala ekuthi sibathwese wona-ke ngaphambi kokuthi bahambe bovela ngaphambi kwenkosi ephakeme.
Now,
excuse me, my lord,
yes.
just to come in there, I don't think that was discussed with me. I was not part of the decision making, even in terms of the charges. I may have known murder,
yes.
It's straightforward, but to say, let us discuss that we go for these charges, I was not part of that. All I know is further instructions and the strategy that the NPA said they will adopt at a later stage. But with regard to decision making and charges, I was not part of that, my lord.
Athi-ke lapho-ke shwele nje kancane babumnisi noma mnumzana umnisi kunalapha nokuthi angenele khona-ke kuwukuthi ithimba lehhovisi labashushisi ngesikhathi bethatha-ke isinqumo khona-ke lapho sekuthi nabasolwa babathwesa amacala amaphi-ke lapho kade angekho lapho-ke futhi kade angeyongxenye yawo umhlangana lawo-ke kepha thina bakazi nje ngecala lokuqala ukuthi icala lokubulala nje kuphela leli kade bebathwesa lona.
Thank you. You're right, Brigadier. But when I say the DPP says to Brigadier Kininda this and that, I do not literally mean that you were seated to that side, the DPP is seated to this side and is communicating with you. I don't know whether they are calling what I'm saying it's a metaphor or it's I don't know, but I'm just trying to express it in a way as if the DPP is talking to you, although I know they did not speak to you.
Athi-ke lapho uyazi ukuthi ithimba labalovisi abashushisi abakhulu abakaze bakhulume nawe ngesikhathi bethatha-ke isinqumo lapho-ke futhi bekade azama nje ukubikisa ukuthi yena-ke futhi wena wagcina bekutshelile ukuthi kumele ukuthi wenze ini futhi akasho ukuthi wena ngabe kade ukhona-ke ngesikhathi ngesikhathi ade behlanganele endaweni eyodwa-ke ngaphambi kokuthi athathe isinqumo lapho-ke ukuthi mhlawumbe kade uhlezi ehlangothini isandla sokunxele noma ehlangothini isandla sokudla kepha-ke bekazama nje ukwenza nje isibukiso lapho noma mhlawumbe isibonelo nje esincane.
I understand, my lord.
Athi yebo ngiyazwisisa.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now it takes me back to Mandletu. I know this aspect of what I'm doing now. They exactly taught me, but with a lapse of time, I think I might have, I'm missing what is it that it was actually being referred to, you see, but it is definitely there. There I can't fault them. They taught me this. But thank you very much for your understanding. So we together when I say, don't take this literally as if they were speaking to you, not so.
Athi uyabonga ngokuthi niyazwisisana futhi ngabe nihamba ekhasini elilodwa noma mhlawumbe ohlangothini olulodwa-ke uma wena ungayithathi le nkulumo ngongathi wena-ke kade ukhona lapho-ke baba ugininda futhi ukukhulumisana bomathupha.
I understand, my lord.
Thank you, sir.
Athi yebo ngiyazwisisa.
Now, the office of the DPP says to Brigadier Gininda, having decided on the identity of the people that we need to indict based on the evidence that is there in the docket, now we need to decide what charges should they go and face at the High Court.
Athi-ke manje ngemuva kwesikhathi-ke lapho kusho ukuthi ithimba lovisi abashushisi abakhulu bahlezi phansi babuka idokhetho futhi nepresentation yakho bese bathatha isinqumo sokuthi ngabe kahle kumele abasolwa kwabathwesa amacala waphi-ke ngaphambi kokuthi abasolwa baqhamuke phambi kwenkosi yenkantolo ephakeme.
I'm following, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
Thank you, sir. Now the DPP further says to you, Brigadier Gininda, for us to be able to come to this conclusion on what charges should the people that we have decided to indict face at the High Court, we have taken the following into account.
Isathi lapho-ke abantu labo akazi ukuthi abobanike kade bethatha isinqumo noma kade behlezi ngesikhathi bethatha isinqumo lapho-ke bese athi bona-ke bese bathatha isinqumo sokuthi ngaphambi kokuthi abasolwa baqhamuke ngaphambi konkosi yenkantolo yile sinqumo esilandelayo abazosithatha.
Number one,
sokuqala,
we have considered whether we would have reasonable prospect of success against them when we prosecute them on the charges that we are going to prefer against them.
Athi lapho-ke kukuthi mhlambe kade bengenazo insolo mhlambe noma kade benazo insolo zokuthi ngabe mhlambe kukhona noma akukho yini lokhu ukuthi mhlambe bazobathwesa bona ngaphambi ukuthi baqhamuke ngaphambi konkosi yenkantolo noma mhlambe amacala ukuthi bazobathwesa wona-ke ngaphambi kokuthi abasolwa baqhamuke ngaphambi konkosi yenkantolo.
I'm following, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
Number two,
Athi okwesibili,
they say to you, Brigadier Gininda, for us to determine whether we've got any reasonable prospect of successfully prosecuting them, we need to determine whether is there any admissible evidence against them.
athi lapho-ke ngaphambi kokuthi bese babuya bokukhuluma nabathi ngaphambi kokuthi bona babathwese-ke amacala kade bezobathwesa bona-ke futhi nangaphambi kokuthi abasola baqhamuke ngaphambi konkosi yenkantolo bona kade mhlawumbe benakho ingabaza futhi benakho ingabaza ogcwele ukuthi mhlawumbe ngabe amacala abazowathwesa wona-ke ngabe khona yini ufakazi inkosi yenkantolo yothi ibamukele phambi kwayo.
I'm following, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
Whether is there any relevant and admissible evidence against them,
ukuthi mhlawumbe ngabe khona yini into ehambisanayo futhi nofakazi kade bukhona-ke mayelana nabo bonkana abasolwa.
whether do we have any form of relevant and admissible circumstantial evidence against them,
futhi nokuthi ngabe khona yini ufakazi kade benabo ufakazi lokho obungaqondile kubo mathupha mayelana nalokho kade bekwenzile futhi nokuthi ngabe kade khona yini ufakazi kade bahambisana futhi nale nkulumo ukuthi mayelana namacala wabo noma ufakazi kade bukhona mayelana ngodaba lwamacala kade bebathwesa wona.
whether,
athi yebo ngiyazwisisa.
thank you, whether in view of what you presented to us, are there any possible defenses to the charges that you are going to prefer against them?
Futhi ukuthi malana namacala noma ipresentation kade uyimikise kubona ukuthi ngabe mhlambi bona abasolwa ke bayokhona ukuthi bayimele mhlawumbe ukuthi bayikhulumele mayana nalamacala kade owamikise mhlawumbe nepresentation le kade uyimikisile kwithimba le office labashushisi.
I'm listening, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
Thank you. Now I can't remember these other factors, for obvious reasons. But the list goes on and on and on and on and on. That is called a decision-making process by the DPP or by a prosecution.
Athi akanaso isiqiniseko sokuthi ngabe khona futhi amanye awakhumbulayo amaphuzu lapho ke kepha ke amaphuzu lawo ke maningi futhi adwebile lapho ke ngokusalana emuva kepha kathi iwona ke amaphuzu abavame ukuthi ithimba labashushisi abakhulu ngaphambi ukuthi bathathe isinqumo sokuthi bathwesa ke abasolwa amacala kumele ukuthi bawabuke futhi wabukisise kahle ngokujulile futhi ngokuqondile.
As it pleases the court, my lord, it totally skipped my mind that we should have a short break, a tea time. I'm alerted that it's almost 1:45 now, and we haven't had a tea time.
Continue, sir.
Should I continue, my lord? I'm a bit tired, my lord. No, I can't continue. I'm a bit tired. I also need to take a break as well. I just need to go and refresh. I'm a bit tired. I need a sip of water.
Yeah, continue up to 1 o'clock.
For the 15 minutes,
Yeah.
I can only pray that I don't collapse. Thank you, Brigadier. Now, the office of the DPP says to you, Brigadier, those are the factors that we have taken into account in determining the nature of the charges that you are going to prefer against these people that we have decided to indict.
Athi lapho ke ithimba le office labashushisa abakhulu bayatshela ke ukuthi wena ke iwona ke amaphuzu abasaleke emuva lawo ke bese bawabukisisa kahle ngaphambi kokuthi bathathe isinqumo sokuthi bathwesa abasolwa amacala athize noma abawathwesi amacala athize.
I'm following, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
And the office of the DPP, Brigadier, says to you, with due respect, Brigadier, we know, we understand that you undertook a very tedious investigation in this case. You did your job in a sterling way. There's no doubt about it.
Athi futhi ke ithimba le office abashushisa abakhulu bajethi bona ke abayingabazi malana nomsebenzi owenzile kona mnumzana uGininda ngoba uwenzise kahle futhi umsebenzi futhi ngokukhethekile futhi wawenza umsebenzi ngokuyimisela ngokuba nomdlondlo futhi ngesikhathi wenza umsebenzi wakho wokusesha kwecala.
You made a wonderful presentation in terms of your memory and your investigation. It's applauded.
Athi lapho ke futhi wakushayela ke izandla ngokuthi wena ke wenze umsebenzi oncomekayo noma umsebenzi okahleke malana nokusesha kwecala futhi malana nodaba lwakho le memorandum ngesikhathi bo present memorandum yakho.
Brigadier Gininda, we are well aware. Now that is what those now this is what those three esteemed team of prosecutors said on behalf of the office of the DPP. Remember, the office of the DPP operates in terms of the instrumentality of the advocates. Ne? So now these three esteemed advocates are then saying to you, Brigadier Gininda, we're also well aware that in your motivation, in your investigation, you had to try to come up with a suggestion that this could be a hit. This could be a hired killing, contract killing. We have seen that. You have also taken into account that which you have submitted to us in respect of that fact when we made this decision.
Athi yona-ke ubona-ke labantu abathathu mhlawumbe abashushisi abakhulu ngokuy'khundla zabo-ke abathathu lapho-ke uma bethatha-ke isinqumo sabo bese bakutshela-ke ukuthi ukhumbula khona njalo-ke njengalaba abahlezi phambi kwenkantolo labashushisi njengokuthi bayithimba-ke lapho-ke bese bakutshela ukuthi bona-ke lokushona kukamufi lapho-ke basho khona nje kade kuyinto behlelelwe phansi bese bazwana-ke ngayo ngaphambi kokuthi umufi adutshulwe.
I'm listening, my lord. Sorry.
Thank you.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
However, Brigadier Kininda, we are unable to agree with you that this was a contractual killing.
Kepha-ke bathi kuwena-ke bona-ke abavumelani nawe noma abahambisani nenkulumo yakho ukuthi wena-ke uthize ukudubula lokho kade kukudutshulwa komuntu oyedwa ngemuva ukuthi abantu ababili noma abantu abathathu kade behlanganele bese bazwana ngalokho.
Thank you.
That's a good piece, man. I know counsel is just arguing maybe loudly, but the fact of the matter is murder. What the motive for the murder is irrelevant. So we submit, my lord, that that's a legal question. It's even if counsel is arguing lightly to put something that is incorrect as to the motive, because he's now busy with the motive for the murder. Murder is a lawful and intentional killing of a human being. What the motive, therefore, is, is irrelevant. So we submit, my lord, that it's incorrect to make that proposition to the witness that it was not taken into account that the witness suggested that this is a contractual killing. That's a legal question, my lord.
Yeah, sorry, let me just ask the Brigadier. Does the Director of Public Prosecutions discuss strategy with you?
No, my lord.
As an arresting officer or an investigating officer?
Not in details, my lord, but they will indicate, for example, that let us approach probably especially after the decision has been made, to say let's start it this way and then we'll move that way, but not in depth. You are more on the receiving end because you are not part of the decision making, but you will get an instance like in this instance where that says a certain strategy will be adopted when we deal with Ms. Kelly Khumalo. So, but not the details. But such came to my ears, my lord.
Kade akungabakho umshushiso omkhulu malana nenkulumo lekade umiliyoni eqhampisa noma kade ekhuluma etshela ke ufakazi okhona babugini indaba ngaphambi kwenkosi enkantolo ke athi udaba ukuthi mhlambe lapho ke ummelweni mhlambe kumele ukuthi aqhamukise uma ngabe sebesenza ke ingxoxo ngaphakathi kwenqoqo lapho kwathi argument ngesingisi ke ngoba ke ufakazi akuyena umuntu ongabaselungelweni lokuthi aphefumule malana nodaba ke bese inkosi enkantolo yabuya ke yabuza yena ukuthi noma yebo ukuthi lapho ke ukuthi lokudutshula komuntu ngabe mhlawumbe ukudutshula komuntu ade behlele phansi bese bazwana ke ayithimba abantu ababili futhi ukhupha kubheka phezulu khona njalo ke ngesikhathi kade uthatha isinqumo sokuthi ke lo muntu nakwabulawa ke lapho ke ushuthi ngesingisi bathi consensual killing leyo nto lesho ukuthi lapho ke abantu ababili noma abathathu babehlanganele endaweni eyodwa bese bazwana ke ngenkulumo yabo ukuthi kumele benze udaba lokumele balenzeke bese inkosi enkantolo yabuza ukuthi ngabe mhlawumbe ke ubaba ugininda ke noma mhlawumbe sithi ecala noma iphoyisa libophile ke lapho ke abasolwa ke uma ngaba isinqumo bethatha ke isinqumo ethimba labashushisi ngabe uvame ukuthi abe khona ke lapho ke athina cha akavamile ukuthi abe khona ke yena kuyafana nje nokuthi yena kuwumuntu usuke amukela lokho akutholayo kibo abashushisi lapho ke noma ngemuva kwalokho bese bamtshela ukuthi lapho ke yilolu uhlangothi esizolihamba ke soqala ngalana ke masiqeda ngalana bese sihamba lolu uhlangothi olulandelayo.
Yeah, can we adjourn until 2 o'clock?
As it please the court, madam.